I made an AI that picks my monkeys, and if I don't beat chimps with it, I'll shave my beard. All right, we trained this thing pretty well, so hopefully it gives us a good strat. We're starting with a sub, dart, and twin guns. All right, so far that's pretty solid. The only thing is that I'm thinking now, we never trained it to remove obstacles. So we're gonna have to play around the skull the entire game, which is not ideal. Also, if I were picking, I would go longer range here so I can see this track, but I'm not in charge. It picks my monkeys, it picks the upgrade. We still have full control over targeting, where we place the monkeys and all of that, but we are at the mercy of our AI. There are many different ways that I could have trained this thing, but the two that made the most sense to me were either through trial and error or giving it a cheat sheet to study. Now, I don't have the luxury of letting it take over my computer for several days to randomly place monkeys and learn from, so I beat chimps with multiple different strategies, recorded what I did, and handed it to my program to study. In theory, this should work, but it caused a few problems. The first is that every map is a bit different, which means you want to change up the orders of monkeys or upgrades. And the second is that I didn't teach it about timings, like when to get camo detection, lead popping power, or when to remove obstacles. So even though it has a few good examples to follow, it's not guaranteed to get everything in time. That being said, sometimes it played exactly like me. We have larger potions, AMD, Berserker Brew. All right. So that's exactly what I would do. And other times it came up with questionable tactics. And I guess we can see what's after that. A sub into triple guns. The classic combo. Get a new sub, don't upgrade it. Fair enough. Maybe this thing has surpassed me in skill already, or it's just a bot like my Twitch chat. But the reason for the inconsistencies was because of the cheat sheet I gave it. You see, I gave a score for each decision, and the AI determined the best path using an epsilon greedy formula, which is fancy for finding the best scoring path. Now, I purposely didn't give it enough time to study, so it wouldn't look like a normal person is playing, but still should be good enough to give us a chance. So far, my AI, aka Chad, was playing it very safe with submarines and alchemists and Oban. This absolutely destroys the early game, but it's clear that a substrat wouldn't be the best since that skull is in the way. But it was in the 40s that the real strat was revealed, in that we are surrounding Oban with Populous Druids and upgrading one of them to an Avatar of Wrath. Now this is a super long save up of almost 50k, but with the treason back and the druids on the loop, we should be good until the early 80s. But one pro tip for deciding which Populous Druid to upgrade to the Avatar of Wrath is to look at which one has the most pops by the time you can afford the tier 5. This will give you a sense of which one is best positioned to take on the responsibility of incredible popping power. For me, it was the middle left, but this can change based on alchemist positioning and other supporting towers. Anyway, we got the Avatar on round 81, and now we hope that Chad will give us the right supporting cast for this guy. All right, so now we have the sniper, FMJ into large caliber. All right, I'm going to put this guy inside the range of the village for jungle drums, but outside of the range of the alchemist. So like right there, bang, bang, put him on strong. Night vision goggles and shrapnel. Okay, this is definitely a last patch sort of thing. Deadly precision, maim mob. Okay, okay. Level 16, nice, progressing well, as heroes always do. All right, maim mob, glue, bigger glob, stickier glue. Okay. I think we all know that this AI is in fact in the glue gang. If it didn't put down a glue, I would have been disappointed. Bigger globs, stickier glue, stronger glue, mob glue. Easy. And then a mib. Okay. I'm very happy we're going to get a mib before the 90s, because DDTs definitely would have beat us. Definitely. After the mib, we have boomerang, long range rangs, red hot rangs. Okay. Once again, I would love to put this guy. I get it over here. Ran out of nudge space. Love to get in the range of the village, not in the range of the alchemist. Closest I can do is right there. Got a boomerang. Okay, yeah, it is a bottom path. Mob press, improved ranks, glaives. Nice. The 204, much better if on a straightaway. And yeah, looks like we're gonna get another one. So I know I just made a big fuss about it not being in range of the alchemist, but I'd much rather have it with this line of sight, like this path, towards the front and also to the right. Bang. Okay, perfect. I assume glaives is next. Huge. We're on round 90. You'll love to see it. Ninja. Okay. Distraction, counter espionage, and shinobi. We all know it's a balloon sabotage. Yep. You know it. I know it. This thing studied. It knows. The one thing, round 98 with his skull in the way, does give me some pause. Are we an alchemist? Let's see. Stronger acid, perishing potions. Okay. I think I think I know what it is. Show it to me. Unstable and faster throwing. Okay, thank God. That's what I was banking on. All right, this will make 98 a lot easier. We just have to be ready for all of the ceramics that come up. Oh, max level. Refresh those trees. Not a single balloon was in there. Nice. Now we have a sub, barbed, and heat tip darts. Okay, I don't really want that in alchemist range, so we'll just put it right here. Heat tips. There we go. Ballistic missile and first strike. We'll use sabotage for 95. It doesn't even look like we need it. Holy cow. We do have ton. Oh. Okay, maybe very happy I used it now. All right, what is after first strike? Win. All right, so hopefully this is enough. That's funny. We're gonna have so much money. We'll have plenty of money to remove the obstacle, and we just can't. All right, I got this. Let's use first strike here. Just take out a ZOMG, do some good damage. Hopefully they can't get through the trees. They didn't even. Okay, that first strike with unstable concoction. They didn't even get to the trees. All right, these fortified DDTs definitely getting slowed. With the balloon sabotage, we have 15k left over, and we're gonna have first strike back. Now I could finish it off completely, but we'll see. We'll see. This is for the beard, baby. Let's go. Twisted Nightmare, one of the hardest maps ever made in BTD6, and we're going to beat chimps on it today with the help of Geef, Isimo, and Derp Skull. The beginning started with near pixel perfect placement and a bit of micro. We placed our 3 dart monkeys down and told the far left one what to attack. While terrifying, we got incredibly lucky and our dart monkey hit all 3 of his snipes first try. But that was the easy round. There's a snipe that the left dart has to hit in the middle of round 7 that'll show us if we put him in the right spot. We left him on last until he hit the first green balloon, switched him to strong, and after 3 attacks we purchased quick shots. This not only let him handle his 2 tracks, but also land a snipe on a green balloon in the bottom middle of the screen that would have leaked otherwise. Round 8 was free with the addition of another dart monkey on the right side, and for round 9 we added a dart monkey on the far left and upgraded the bottom middle one to a 001 the moment we had enough money. What's funny is we're heading into round 10 and all we have are 5 dart monkeys and nothing else. And we're not ending that trend here, as in the middle of popping these blue balloons, we put another dart in the bottom right and gave him long range as well. Rounds 11 through 13 were free, which let us save up for a mid-round 14 Geraldo. We set up his tight placement by holding a druid where we wanted to place him and then pressing Geraldo's hotkey once we had enough money. This let us line him up perfectly and get him down as early as possible. From here, we just had to place 2 different spike piles with very tight windows. Luckily, Ninja Kiwi just added advanced hotkeys, so we set up my pile of nails shortcut, and this allowed me to place them much faster. Round 14 is nothing compared to 15 though in terms of difficulty, so here we had to place down 3 more piles of nails to get by. With this, we were able to afford yet another dart monkey to clear the left side, and then another pile of nails on the bottom track to help pop the last yellow balloon. 17 just gave us some money as we didn't need anything new to beat it, but 18 is where things got spicy again. We got yet another dart monkey on the left side with plans of turning this guy into a robo monkey in the future. What's crazy is that we're 23 minutes into the run, heading into round 18, and only have Geraldo and 8 dart monkeys. By far the weirdest start I've ever had, but we're finally going to get some diversity in here. In the middle of the round, we got one of Geraldo's shooty turrets on the right side and cleaned up 2 red balloons with another pile of spikes. And for round 19, we put down 2 more spike piles on the bottom track. I was scared to spam these, but if we're leaking with almost no money in the bank, there's not much else we can do. This was enough to beat round 20 as well, but 21 is where we finally got to use some bottles of glue. We put one down on 2 different intersections, a shooty turret in the bottom right, and 2 piles of spikes, 1 on each of the top exits. And here is where I learned something about hard challenges like this. There's no downside to just sending the next round unless you have a bunny or carpet of spikes, because when you reload, the leftover spikes that you had on the first attempt will disappear. So for now, I can just full send away. This showed us that we needed a spike pile in the top right, and let us beat not only round 22, but 23 and 24 as well. 25 needed another shooty turret, and they taught me another little tip. Shooty turrets are very strong in the early game, weak in the mid game, and very strong again in the late game. So we won't buy too many more here, but once we get their upgraded version, we'll place them every time they come in stock, as they're incredible at cleaning up. At this point, we had a few things to save up for. We needed 2 different FMJ snipers so we could take out the leads on 28, and we were trying to get to a Worn Heroes cape as fast as possible. The earlier we get this cheap super monkey, the easier the run will be. So even though we had $1,000 to beat round 26, we just used 3 spike piles to squeak by. Luckily, round 27 gives us plenty of money, but we were losing to the greens before the yellows even showed up. And there are way too many balloons for glues or spikes to be that useful. At this point in the game, spikes are a good option if we're only leaking a balloon or two, and glue is great for rounds where fast balloons are blowing right past us. But neither of those are the case here. We just needed more popping power on top of having 2 snipers ready for the lead balloons next round. With that in mind, we got down an FMJ sniper on the left side, a base sniper on the right, and hit play. Once the green balloons started coming, we put a glue in the bottom middle intersection and our final spike pile in stock on the top left exit. This barely got us through the round and gave us enough money to make our second sniper a 1-0-0, making rounds 28 through 30 free as the snipers brought the leads all the way down to greens. 31 though, that took 2 glues and 2 spike piles, and even that took a few tries. Now, we're getting super close to affording that cape, so spending as little money as possible was the goal. And round 32 only took 1 pile of nails to beat, giving us enough money. Round 33 is a weird one though. Balloons wise, it's very easy, but they're all camouflaged and we have no camo detection. So we delayed the cape one more round, put a camo pot on Jerry as it gives all his turrets camo detection too, and then we got a turret on the left side to handle the camos over there. This was incredibly close as 2 different times the shooty turret clutched up and barely popped a balloon before it got away. But this let us make a super monkey in the bottom right, which beat round 34. 35 kept leaking though, even with our newly made super monkey. But that's when I learned to basically always keep your super monkeys pickled. This will double their damage with a slight hit to their attack speed, but that's a trade-off we'll make almost every time. And with this extra damage on the right side and a glue and spike pile on the left, we managed to pop everything. This let us get a second Worn Heroes cape, giving us a super monkey on the left side of the map. We glued the bottom track, and once we had the money, we gave the new super pickles and placed a couple spikes on the top right exit. This brings us to round 37 though, which took tons of attempts. What we finally settled on was a glue and creepy idol on the right side, camo detection on the left side sniper, and 1 spike pile on the bottom track. Round 38, we picked up super range and then RNG grinded a creepy idol until we got the knockback and shooty turret snipes we needed to beat the round. Luckily, round 39 was free as we just hit play and popped everything, but this brings us to the round 40 Moab. Here, we used another cape, pickled both super monkeys on the right side, and used Geraldo's blade trap to beat the round. It made me a bit sad seeing the $700 go down the drain on this one-use item, but it was worth it to beat the first Moab of the run. 1.5 hours into the map, we finally beat round 40. Round 41 didn't need anything else to win, but 42 took a few items. We needed to glue the left side, put spikes in the top right, and camo pot the bottom right super monkey. This was able to squeak by and left us with more than enough money to upgrade the left super to a 0-1-0 super range, give him pickles, and feed a super monkey on the right a spicy potion. This barely beat round 43, crushed round 44, and let us save up enough money to pick up knockback on our rightmost super. Without it, camo purples on 45 leaked, but with this upgrade, not a single balloon even made it to the nails by the exit. As for 46, we got epic range and glued the right side of the track to help deal with the fortified ceramics. Even with this though, round 47 snuck by. We had 2 issues. The first were the camos and the second was some RNG, both happening on the left side of the map. We camo potted the leftmost super and retried the round a few times. For whatever reason, the super monkey did significantly better on the 4th try, even though we changed nothing. This gave me an obnoxious amount of hope for any future round that we could just retry the same thing over and over and it would make a difference. And while that was true, we figured it wouldn't swing it enough to take out most of a fortified ceramic, so on 48 we give the left super a pickle, and even with this he barely managed to pop the final few balloons on the left before the exit. 49 is even tougher though, so we put a spicy potion on the left side. This took out everything on this side and let us afford a robo monkey on the right by the end of the round and knockback on the left side in the middle of round 50, just in time for the 2 Moabs. This is what I learned about knockback RNG. Each shot gets a different value for how much it knocks back the balloons. So on one attempt we could get completely wiped out and the next we could be just fine even if we changed nothing. It would be super annoying in a black border run, but in a challenge like this with unlimited retries, it was kinda comforting. After a few attempts, we got the Moab on the left down to only leaking a green balloon, which we took out with a pile of nails. Rounds 51 and 52 were fine, we just had to make sure I set the Robo Monkey to first close, and it was able to handle everything. Then we picked up Ultra Vision on the Robo so it gets slightly more range and permanent camo detection. This, plus a jar of pickles on the left, took care of the 3 Moabs and 80 camo pinks. It wasn't enough for round 54 though. I was ready to run the RNG dice over and over, but I was assured that using pickles here was worth the time save and it wouldn't impact us later on. That was definitely the right call because it let us see a massive leak on the left that happened a few seconds after the Robo popped the Moab. Luckily, all we needed over there was a creepy idol, but here I learned something important. At this point in the game, we should almost never use nails unless you're only leaking 1 or 2 balloons. However, once Geraldo hits level 16, his spike piles turn into spiked mines that are super effective for dealing with ceramics and can even take out DDTs if you put a pile of them at the end of the track. This let us coast all the way to round 57, where we were able to afford our second Robo Monkey, locking up the left side of the map. Now, we just had to focus on getting Geraldo's bunny as soon as possible. This is limited by his restock timing though, not by how much money we have, so we can still spend a bit on items to get by. Round 59 took 2 spicy potions and a camo pot to pop the camo leads, but round 60 was pretty cool. We tried a combination of 2 pickles, sharpening stone, a glue, totem, and eventually spikes, but after several attempts, we gave up and just used a blade trap. Not ideal as it's a one-time use, but it was definitely the easiest way to win. Just place it down once the Moabs were hurt a bit and we were off to round 61. This was basically just free money as 61 was a walk in the park, but the fortified Moabs on 62 posed a problem. We didn't even pop the outer layer of one the first time we attempted the round. That's nothing 2 pickles, spicy potion positioning, and a ton of knockback RNG can't fix. After several attempts, we lucked out and somehow popped all the fortified ceramic inside the Moab with the Robo's crit, and 62 was a thing of the past. Now, onto the dreaded round 63. We tried to get away with just a glue or 2, but after a few attempts of the balloons just blowing through our defenses, we put a third one down. This not only let us beat the round, but also allowed us to get our 3rd and 4th bunny, making Geraldo's Killer Rabbit, one of the best towers in the game for its low price. The only problem is that it's not consistent, especially on a map like this. Some attempts it'll carry you to victory, and others it'll drop the ball. It just depends on where it jumps and when it hits. If it hits the ceramics inside a Moab, it can take them all out, but if the ceramics and rainbows get split into smaller balloons first, the rabbits pierce caps and it won't be able to take out all the balloons in one attack. So we added even more RNG in this run. This somewhat showed itself on round 65 as the bunny kept attacking the top left of the map, leaving the rest of the tracks for our monkeys to deal with, which kept causing us to leak. Luckily, the bunny responds to Geraldo's targeting, so we just had to change him back to close and the bunny was back by his side in no time, letting us pop the BFB on the bottom track and move on. Round 67 needed nothing to win, and 68 just took a retry. No items, monkeys, or targeting changes needed. But 69 needed a fire on the left and a few attempts for the bunny to handle the right side. It would ignore a fortified lead from time to time, but with a few tries and changing the right sniper's targeting to first, we were able to beat the round. This leads us to one of the hardest parts of the game, saving up for the carpet of spikes. We got a spike storm on the right and a camo pot on the left Robo to beat the round, and here Geraldo hit level 13, which means we have access to his upgraded turrets. Like we said a while ago, these have been weak for a long time, but now we'll purchase them anytime they're in stock, as we'll use them for cleanup on the left side of the map. We got 4 of these turrets down and gave the left Robo pickles. This was enough defense for the left side, and we got excellent bunny RNG to pop the right. Was this mostly luck? Yes. But this was enough to beat round 72, 73, and 74, so we're finally picking up the pace in this run. This brings us to round 75 though, the first round we need to use Spike Storm to get by. We used it right when the fortified leads were getting pretty far, and the leftover spikes were used to deal massive damage to the BFBs. Round 76 took a few tries, but we just needed to glue the right lane, put the bunny on strong so it would focus the ceramics, and give it a few tries to get good RNG. 77 though got super close to the end on the bottom track, but the knockback and bunny came in clutch, not letting anything leak. We went from a BFB down to nothing with very little track remaining. But now we're on to round 78, one of the hardest rounds in the game as we have to deal with 2 massive rushes of ceramics, the first being normal and the second being camouflaged. All we had to do though was put the bunny on strong and spike storm both ceramic rushes. This worked after a few tries, but it was nothing compared to round 79. Through tons of trial and error, we ended up putting the bunny back to first, pickled both Robos, put sharpening stone on the right Robo Monkey, and placed a totem above Geraldo. This left tons of room for RNG, but after 9 minutes of this round alone, we finally popped the final 2 fortified BFBs that end this troublesome round. We're about to face our first ZOMG, and we're only about halfway to the carpet of spikes. This round was easy though, as we got it first try with just a blade trap, which was amazing as it gave us tons of flexibility going forward as our spike storm is off cooldown. But we were in for some trouble, as this was by far the longest round we've been stuck on so far. After 25 minutes of attempts, this is what we came up with. 1 glue down bottom, 1 on the left intersection, a sharpening stone on the left Robo Monkey, a shooty turret by the others, camo pod Geraldo so the bunny gets more range, a creepy idol near the back, and a glue by the spike storm. Then we just needed to time our ability so it breaks about half the BFBs down to Moabs so that our defenses don't get overwhelmed with ceramics all at once. And when we did all this, we still needed the bunny to clutch up and pop some ceramics right before the exit on 2 completely opposite tracks. The pain didn't stop here though, as 82 wasn't much easier. We had to place down a spiked mine on 4 different exits, wait for the bunny to pop all the fortified ceramics, and once there was only 1 BFB left, we switched the bunny to strong to target it. We kept running into an issue where the bunny would waste too much time on the left side when we needed it to whittle down this last BFB, but with its help and 1 more mine, we were barely able to pop all the super ceramics in time. Round 83 only needed a spike storm to be activated once about half the Moabs were on screen, and this let our normal defenses take care of the rest. We were getting super close to the carpet of spikes, but the rounds at this point in the game scale so fast that we were really on a time crunch. We actually got so scared that we did the math to see what all we could afford for this round and still be able to afford the carpet halfway through round 85. Our solution? A creepy idol, 2 spiked mines up top, a genie, and 2 jars of pickles. This, combined with an early spike storm, let us squeak by as there were several ceramics that were popped at the very end of the track. And this brings us to round 85, the round that we can get the carpet of spikes on, but the timing is incredibly tight. We need to upgrade it the second we can if we want its ability to activate and pop the second half of the round. All we needed was some bunny and totem RNG combined with timing the start of the round to get the most out of our genie. This and an early spike ability barely popped the first ZOMG, and after a few balloons popped in the second one, we could afford this upgrade. Luckily, purchasing the carpet instantly spews spikes everywhere, which is exactly what we needed to beat the round. This is a massive power spike and made the next few rounds absolutely free. We just hit play and popped the balloons until round 89. Here we placed a shooty turret and activated the carpet's active ability the second BFB started coming. This won, but the carpet's passive storm spewed at the very end of the round, which is terrible as they'll last through round 90, but if we lose and have to retry, they won't load back in. So we had to beat round 90 first try. The pressure was on. Luckily, this is one of the easiest rounds in the game, and the DDTs were basically popped at the start of the track. This round was so fast that the carpet's passive didn't pop until the start of 91. Then we just had to use its active ability and have the bunny save us from the bottom path leaks. Not only did we beat the round, it gave us the epic bunny bug where it teleports around the map. Unfortunately, we did not first try round 92, so we had to try again without the leftover spikes. Kind of brutal, but at least the bunny bugs out even after we load back in. To get past this round, we got a 202 village by Geraldo in the carpet, upgraded our base super to a 020, pickled both robos, sharpened all 3 supers, used a creepy idol, glued the bottom track, and placed a shooty turret on the left. An absolute ton of items and upgrades, but this was able to survive long enough for the carpet to pop its passive twice, let us afford the Robo Monkey upgrade mid-round, and use the carpet's active ability. And just like that, we were under on 93. All we did was change the targeting of the new Robo to close first, and the carpet took care of the rest. It was nice as its passive popped almost instantly, which took care of the DDTs and several outer layers of BFBs. 94 is where things start ramping up though. Here we put a genie under the village, a creepy idol on the right side, camo potted 2 Robo Monkeys, and glued the ZOMGs as they came in on the right side. This did work, and we only had to blade trap the Moabs on the bottom track. Maybe not necessary, but we didn't want to have to retry this round without the leftover carpet spikes, so it was worth the $700. On to the dreaded round 95. Geraldo is about to get his refresh, so we drained his shop. We got our second genie and put pickles on the carpet. This trades Moab damage for ceramic cleanup, and from rounds 95 to 99, it'll do slightly more damage this way. After that, we put Jerry's fire on all our supers, placed down a glue, and loaded the exits with spiked mines. And just like that, we popped all the DDTs and moved on to round 96 with a full shop. Going into this round, we upgraded our third Robo Monkey to a 2-3-0, placed 4 shooty turrets, camopotted Jerry and the super, pickled the Plasma Robo, put an idol by the carpet, and got 3 Jerry's fires. This let us first try rounds 96 and 97 with the carpet's ability almost off cooldown. And now for the hardest round in the game. We failed several times, changing the strat a bit each time, but we finally came up with this solution. Jerry's Fire the Village, place our second creepy idol, pickle 2 Robos and a shooty turret, place 2 Genies, and get a Moab Press Boomerang. Then, once we hit play, we manually glued each ZOMG that comes on the right side of the map, and once the ZOMGs and BFBs really start popping, we blade trapped them to take care of the insides, one on the left side and one on the bottom intersection. This managed to take down this monster of a round and set us up for success for 99. With 2 Genies and leftover spikes, the fortified DDTs didn't stand a chance. And just like that, we were on to the last round of the game. We placed all 10 mines at the end of track 1, put a creepy idol by the Moab Press, a spicy potion on the carpet, and pickles on a turret. We hit play, waited for the bad to hit the intersection, and then spike stormed 3 times as we bought 2 rejuvenation potions. This brought it down to just ZOMGs, and once they split into BFBs, we used our final blade trap to pop everything. But that's how we beat Twisted Nightmare on Chimps. I'm gonna try to beat Chimps blindfolded. Now, I don't have a blindfold, so I'm just wearing a hoodie on backwards, but let's jump into it. I wear a mask. I can find my headset. Oh, hopefully you can hear me. Where's my... Hello. Luckily, I have my keyboard memorized. Mouse in the bottom right. RTYU. That's promising. Success! It sounds like nothing got past her, which means she's in a decent spot. So, oh, I nudged, so I don't know where my mouse is. I was gonna say I can keep it by her. I nudged to the right, so maybe. Let's put the boomerang down again. I got it down. I don't hear it throwing anything though. Can I find the upgrades again? Yup. I just follow spacebar all the way to /. All right, there we go. Got improved rangs, I think is what that upgrade's called. Let's see if we can get glaives. There we go. 202 boomer. That'll be good for now. What do I want? I mean, I would like to put an alchemist next to Sada, but I have no idea where she is. Do you find my mouse? Am I still talking into the mic? Yes. It's kind of hard to breathe in here. I could get a ninja down, try to get a ninja and an alchemist. Okay, I think I found it. I was just kind of randomly clicking because I know I didn't nudge very far. Let's see if I can upgrade it. Okay, I'm probably on the ninja then. And now I guaranteed am. I guess I could be leveling up Sada technically, but I could not have made both those upgrades to the boomerang. I think what, he's at 201 now? Oh, we had money. So he's a 302. My mouse should be pretty close to him, so let's get down an alchemist. There we go. Oh, my fingers were in the wrong spot. All right, F. Oh, that's not good. I got him down. I don't know if this is him. It is. That's AMD. If we can just make him a 301, I will be very happy. How much money? Okay, I don't have enough for the faster throwing yet. I was gonna say, how much money do we have? So that's a 301. Do I try to just go all the way? Because I'm not going to be able to find this alchemist again. I might as well make him a stronger stim. Odds I can find the ninja though and make it a Bloons Jitsu afterwards. All right, we're sending it. Stronger stim it is. What's funny is I'm playing most of this game with my eyes closed anyway, but then when I do open them, I can't see anything. I can see shadows if it's this close. There we, oh, oops. There we go. Alchemist is a 401. Hopefully this is the ninja. If it is, I'm actually just so lucky. Also, this is my first time playing with audio on in a long time. I had to learn the audio cues. Did I get that upgrade? I don't know if that was an upgrade sound. No, I think that was an alchemist sound. That was the mob. I don't know. I might still be on the alchemist. Who's clicking? Oh. I upgraded something. Either the boomerang or the ninja. I'm hoping it was the ninja. What I'm gonna do is wait a few rounds or like leave it on this. Try to upgrade it. If I still can't, it was probably the ninja. Because we would not be able to afford Grandmaster, but we would probably be able to afford more glaives, is my thinking. All right, I think it was the ninja. Now, if I remember right, in my head, the boomerang's to the left of the ninja. But I don't know. We're on something. It's probably back to the ninja because I'm not. Let's slow the game down. All right, go in the bottom right. Go up, left. Where are these monkeys? I'm afraid of going onto my other monitor and accidentally hitting stop recording. Boomerang, where are you? Ring the bell. Is that a mob? Does that mean we're on round 50? That means I have to find this boomerang fast. All right, back to the bottom right. Let's just get down a village. Am I even on the right screen right now? I'm not hearing any sound effects. Okay, there I got a village. We already have a village down. Am I not on the right screen? Ha, I clicked on the other monitor. Oh, now I want to peek to make sure I'm recording. Not gonna though. Okay, so I was just on the other monitor, I think. Oh, go all the way right, all the way down. Whoop. Am I on it? I'm using escape to see if I'm clicked on anything. I got something. Wait, did I hit escape? I clicked the pause button. Okay, so I know where my mouse is. Left, down. Oh, this went downhill so fast. It's the boomerang. That's a 402. Fast forward. I was gonna say I tried to upgrade the middle path and I couldn't in case it was a village, and I don't even know if I've placed a village. I tried, but I think I was on the wrong screen. All right, I have a simple plan, and it's just send this guy all the way to a Glade Lord. I don't know if he's in a good spot, but it's my best chance. I found that if I tuck it, the hoodie right up to my mouth and nose, I can breathe better. Huh, I don't know if I'm recording audio. This would be very boring if I'm not. I got the upgrade. I got the upgrade. Do I have the Glaive Lord? Mobs are fallen, so I must. All right, let's give him a village. My fingers were in the wrong spot. Oh, it's over. Mm-hmm. That upgrade's easy because it's on my mouse. Heck, let's make this thing a PEX. Am I on to something here? What are the odds I can go all the way to a PEX? Probably pretty good with how good that Glaive Lord's placed.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid.
I'm gonna be so sad when I lose on like round 87 or something lame like that. When all those mobs crashed, and that was right around the time we could afford the Glaive Lord, I think that was around 64. So we're probably on around like 68 right now. The nice thing about the Glaive Lord, especially now that he has camo detection, because I didn't move my mouse far, I'm assuming it's under the effect of the village. The nice thing about him is that he should be able to easily handle 78, 76, and maybe some others. I don't know, depending on how good he's placed. I was not planning on getting a PEX this game. I wanted a Glaive Lord, but then I was gonna try to get like a super brittle. That's a terrible idea. That's all the planning I put into this. What I think I'll do now though, if I can get the PEX, I'm gonna try to get a glue storm and use that ability because it's global and it doesn't matter where I place it. But if it's under the effect of the PEX, it'll just be 100% extra damage. I could also get a Spectre at the end of the track. That would be easy-ish to place. Oh, do I want that? Can I afford that? What round are we on? I'm just hitting upgrade repeatedly and trying to figure out what round we are off the sound. This seems like a 78. That's just literally just a random guess though. Very thirsty. I wouldn't mind losing so I could take a sip. I'm just waiting to try to hear around 80's silence, but oh, here we go. Is that really around 80? I have no idea. We've got to be getting close to this PAX. I can't. There's so many sounds going on. I can't tell if I've made it already. This. Oh. This kind of sounds like 83. I expect longer pauses. Maybe not. Hopefully I sound okay. This is 83. 100%. Which means I should be super close to the PEX if I don't have it. Am I on the right button? Yeah. This is 85. Dude, I have to have the PEX. But what if I don't? What if I'm so close to it? We're on 63
This one already suffered.
to 83. I have the PEX. I literally have to. All right, going to the bottom right. Find. So I'm on. Where the heck is my... There we go. Found F, which means J is here. That sounded like I placed it. Just gonna make this guy a 2. 0. 5. Oh, maybe I don't have the PEX. Wait, I could afford that much? Do we have a 205 Spectre? Is this where I think it is? Do I have like a good ending? Please let my Glaive Lord be able to see camo. Please. Why not? We need some mob presses. I think we have the damage, boys. There's one. What are the odds I know where oh my goodness. Set him to strong. I'm pretty confident in that placement. Or in that targeting priority. Definitely place another. Go down to the upgrades.
This one, ring the bell.
We have so much money. Did I put him on strong? I think so. Oh, why did I move my mouse like that? Oh, that was a mistake. Where's escape? RTY, glue gunner OP. Did I place him? I don't think so. Y, RTY. This is definitely around 95. Oh, I don't have enough for a glue storm. I'm assuming that sounded right. Wait, did I do the right upgrade? This is 97. You can tell by how quiet it is. His abilities. I think I just got glue storm. I totally did. This is 99. I'm just spamming abilities. What round are we on? Is this the bad? I don't know what's going on. All right, let's get my mouse. Let's get another mob press. I don't know if I'm selecting it. I can't hear it. That's the bad. There's no way she said that thing is too big to bury and have it not be the bad. Come on. Please pop it. Something went. Did I win?
The shackles bind.
Let's go! That's where I play stuff? Oh my goodness. I also opened Google Chrome on my other monitor. Oh, thank God it's still recording. Okay. What the heck is this? What is that placement? I don't have a village? I have 3 different alchemists. I don't even remember placing a 3rd one. Okay, let's go. Good job, Ozzy. Dude, my Sada placement was gas. Holy cow. So this guy couldn't even see the DDTs. Didn't need to. There's a mod where you can damage balloons by clicking them. Each click is 1 damage, and you can spend money to upgrade the clicker just like any other tower. But winning this way would be too easy, so I'm going to try to program my computer to click the balloons for me. There are just a few problems. Is the clicker strong enough to beat a game on its own? How will my computer know where to click? And how will it upgrade the clicker? The first problem was the easiest to tackle. I booted up a game on Resort and tried to win with me using the clicker mod. Right away, I noticed you could miss the balloons by a little bit and still damage them, which will be nice. But what I am worried about is the different balloon speeds. We might have to tell my computer to click different spots based on if we're facing a fast pink balloon or a slow red one. But I made my way through the game, learning the upgrades and beating the round 80 ZOMG. Now, it was time to teach my computer where to click. And because we'll be referring to my computer so much, I'm going to call it Lenny for the rest of the video. My first thought was to code in what color each balloon is. Then, Lenny would just scan the screen for those colors and click on the one furthest along the track. And we could also program in how fast each color is, solving that problem too. This kind of worked in that Lenny could recognize the balloons and occasionally click them, but it took him so long to scan the entire screen, and when there were tons of balloons, it would kind of break things. Plus, if a balloon went under the dust clouds on Resort, it would change their RGB values and Lenny wouldn't recognize them. So we had to pivot. Instead of teaching Lenny what the balloons look like and have him scan the entire screen 24/7, what if we just taught him what the track looks like, and if he can't find the track, that means there's a balloon on it. So I took screenshots of the map, splitting it into 32 segments. Then, to save time on Lenny searching the map for these, I told him exactly where each segment will be, so he only has to search like 1/100th of the map each time. And if he can't find that segment, click the center of it and hopefully there'll be a balloon there. This worked much better, and we could even have the mouse follow the track perfectly, as I just had Lenny loop through the screenshots and move the mouse to each one. We were finally getting somewhere, but then everything broke. Update 45 came out to BTD6 and the clicker mod stopped working. You couldn't access its upgrades, it would only pull up the hotkey menu. Defeated, I made some other videos, but I kept coming back hoping that an update would come out for it. But then I saw that the Bloons tuber Ruby made the artwork for this mod, so I messaged him to see if he knew if it was getting fixed. He let Graham Cracker know, and in under 12 hours of my first message, Graham gave me an updated version. What a legend. But now we're back on track. Lenny knows the map and where to click, and it's time to test him out and see how he does. Right off the bat, it was promising. He could clearly track the balloons, but there were 2 issues. The first was that he'd go through the screenshots too fast and get ahead of the balloons. He checks them sequentially, starting at the front of the track, and goes through the map in the same way that a balloon would. If he can't find the track, then he clicks there, and if he can see the track, he moves on, leaving the mouse in the last place where a balloon was spotted. In theory, this should work, but it brings us to the second problem, where once again the dust clouds got the best of us. When they'd pass over the track, it would sometimes mess up his search and trigger a false positive for where the balloons are. So the mouse would go to a useless spot and stay there for quite some time. And because Lenny would get so far ahead of the balloons, it made this issue much worse. I tried some things like prioritizing the smallest loop and searching the map backwards until Lenny finds a balloon. Then it would go back to searching forwards as it would prioritize the frontmost balloon, but the clouds kept getting us. And this is where I came to a crossroads. We try to hone in the exact search requirements to account for the different ways the track can look, or do we make a better resort? One without the clouds. I went with the latter, even though it meant getting all new screenshots, telling Lenny where they are, and finding the center of each one. But I gotta make it much prettier than the original resort. The real reason why it looks like this is so the screenshots are easier to tell apart, but it's kind of beautiful. Instantly, we saw a massive improvement in Lenny's performance. He didn't really misclick anymore, but he would still get ahead of the balloons. That's okay though, because I had him move back to the small loop if he couldn't find any balloons for a while. This actually worked pretty well, but what was infuriating was he was much better against greens and up than he was against reds and blues. I assume it's because their movement speed lines up better with his clicks and searches, but I didn't want to mess with it much because after the early game, you don't see many reds and blues. So thinking Lenny was good enough, I taught him how to press play each round and how to use the shop to upgrade his clicker. These were just hard-coded as they should always be the same, and with that, we let Lenny play Resort 2.0 on hard mode. He clicked the first few balloons no problem, but once his search got ahead, he defaulted to his safe space right above the green square. It took a little bit, but after a few seconds, he went right back to tracking them no problem. He popped almost the entire round, but just couldn't find the final blue and red balloon in time before they leaked. So in the first round, he popped all but 3 balloons. After this, Lenny opened the shop and upgraded his clicker to have more pierce and a larger area of effect, making it easier for him to click the balloons. Round 4 started off basically the same as round 3, but this time there were way more blue balloons to deal with. After the first 2 loops, most of them were taken out, but there was one group of 5 barreling towards the exit. Lenny saw it and clicked them, but wasn't able to pop them all before the end. He was able to clean up the rest of the reds though, leaving us with 89 lives and enough money to get stronger clicks, which gives him more pierce and damage. The next few rounds were pretty simple as Lenny can now one-shot blues, and he was tracking them pretty well. He even clicked all the greens at the start of round 6 right away, making it very easy. So he was on a roll, and he kept this up in round 7 as he tracked the greens again no problem. Like we said earlier, he seems to do better against greens than up, which is funny because they're supposed to be more difficult. But after round 7, Lenny purchased rapid clicks, which lets him click 30% more often. This made it much less likely that he'd miss, as sometimes he'd snap to some balloons and move the mouse back before a click goes off. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, and he absolutely smoked the greens in round 8. It seems like he was hitting his stride, but round 9 had other plans. Some of the greens got pretty far, and a red balloon even got through. So Lenny got continuous clicks, upgrading his attack speed even more. This let him crush rounds 10 and 11, as the grouped blues and space greens were no match for his clicking abilities, and this let him buy freezing clicks, which you can probably guess what it does. With this new freezing attack, greens got even easier, and it was just in time for the yellows that come on round 12. With this, Lenny could click a yellow, freeze it, and click it again, completely taking it out. This crushed 12 and 13, and I thought we were in good hands, but round 14 is a bit tougher. 2 yellow balloons got through, bringing us down to 80 lives. Lenny really should have had the second one, but there's nothing we can do now. This gave him the money for powerful clicks though, which increases his damage and pierce and makes the clicker able to hit camo balloons. With this, round 15 didn't stand a chance as Lenny was on top of clicking all the tough balloons, and he'd bring the pinks all the way down to frozen blues with one attack. Lenny's aim continued to be on point for the next couple rounds, even taking out the regrow yellows on 17 without issue. And this let him get enhanced clicks, which cuts the next attack cooldown in half if you don't hit a balloon, which is great for Lenny as I just have him always attacking. The greens on 18 were just free money, even though one got pretty far, and for the most part, the pinks on yellows on 19 weren't too bad, but Lenny did miss a few times, causing us to lose 2 more lives. Luckily, the black balloons on round 20 were super easy as they travel slowly, and Lenny would bring them down to frozen greens with just one attack. This clearly shows that we do the best against medium speed balloons, no matter their health, as reds are too slow and pinks can be too fast. So to get around this, Lenny bought even larger clicks, which increased the area of each click. That should solve it, but there is a new problem though. This upgrade causes there to be a giant click animation whether we pop a balloon or not. It looks pretty funny, but it covers the track with each attack, and if Lenny is searching for balloons there, it causes a false positive. This is actually one of the reasons I didn't make Lenny stay in a spot until he's sure all the balloons are gone, because this plus his actual cursor could make for an infinite loop. This increased area let us deal with the spaced yellows and pinks of 21, and Lenny was even able to snipe 2 yellows in the bottom left of the map near the end of the round. Just a round ago, he probably would have only hit one of them. The next few rounds were a piece of cake as they were full of balloons that Lenny did great against. White and black balloons, and we already have camo detection for round 24. This gave us over $1,000, but we'll need a little more for his next upgrade. So we took on round 25. I was nervous for the purples as this will be Lenny's first time facing them, but he actually did really well, not letting a single balloon make it to the middle loop, and he did just fine against the zebras that come on round 26. I wasn't sure how he'd handle the yellows inside them, but that turned out to not be an issue at all. And with this money, Lenny got the biggest upgrade so far, explosive clicks. This gives him more damage, extra attack speed, and explosions, so leads won't be a problem. We let Lenny cook for a few rounds. The yellows weren't an issue on 27, the leads were free on 28 and 30, and round 29 didn't even get around the first loop. But now it's time for some fun upgrades. Lenny bought better freeze and slowing clicks, making our freezing effects much better. Speaking of the shop, if you do buy anything in-game, make sure to use creator code HPUM to help out the channel. It really means a lot. These freezing upgrades will be nice for the ceramics coming later, but for now it helps out with any balloon that can survive a click as the insides move permanently slower after. But the next several rounds were easy as we popped most of the balloons in the small circle. Really, the only one that got pretty far was 36 with its large rushes of pinks, but even then, nothing really got close to leaking. Lenny was doing a very good job prioritizing the top right of the map. and this let us buy hypersonic clicks, which basically makes everything about our clicker better. And then we picked up intense ice, which gives us extra damage to frozen balloons. And with this, we were able to coast to round 40. During this time, I thought about manually pressing fast forward, but I wanted Lenny to beat this run all by himself, and I have him pressing that later anyway. For now though, he can handle the balloons in normal speed. Before we take on the Moab though, Lenny bought fire and ice, which gives his clicks a fire damage over time effect to everything he clicked. And with that, we took on the first boss of the run. It started off good, but the Moab moved so slow that Lenny went to the top right pretty early as he was searching the rest of the map for balloons. Once Lenny did a whole lap around the map though, he went back to clicking on the pufferfish. He took out the outer layer by the end of the first loop and was able to pop all these ceramics inside before they thawed out. A strong showing, but I am afraid for when more than one Moab comes at a time. For now though, we needed money and lots of it. We blew through the early 40s as neither ceramics or camos cause us problems, and Lenny bought slow area, which leaves behind an Arctic wind aura on every click. We felt this utility instantly as the rainbows on 45 were moving so slow, but it did cause a problem. Now we definitely get false positives on the track as this effect makes the track not match any of Lenny's screenshots, so his clicking might get a bit erratic. This slow let Lenny pop the rest of the 40s, and before round 50, he bought Dart Sprayer and Moab Freeze. The first shoots out darts when he clicks on a balloon, and the other lets us slow Moab. Two very nice upgrades going forward. This let us clear the waves of balloons and pop the Moab surprisingly fast. The only thing was Dart Sprayer lets us do way more damage to the balloons around the one we clicked compared to our primary target. So when we got down to the final Moab of the round, it still took Lenny a bit to pop it. The Moab Freeze was great though, as it basically brought them to a halt. Now, I'm pretty sure Lenny could have camped the very start of the track, but he insisted on staying in the top right to give him the best chance of winning. After round 54, Lenny bought icicle clicks, which drastically increases his Moab and ceramic damage. Really, the only things that might leak we just got way better against. Even round 55 with its ceramic rushes was pretty easy as we just slowed them down and did massive group damage with icicles and Dart Sprayer. And we kind of crushed the rest of the 50s. The BFB did scare me a bit though, as we don't do much single target damage. We didn't have enough money for any upgrades though, so Lenny started the round and even hit fast forward. What a mad lad. It took him quite some time to pop the BFB, but the insides were cleaned up pretty quick. The next couple rounds were jam-packed with balloons, but Lenny handled them no problem. Even round 63 went off without a hitch, as he'd popped the ceramics with just a couple clicks, and this gave him the money to buy Finger Dash, drastically increasing his attack speed. This crushed the rest of the 60s, with round 69 getting the farthest as some of the ceramics made it around the first and second loop while Lenny was distracted. This happened on round 70 as well, as a blue made it all the way to the final pass before getting popped, but after this, Lenny was able to coast. I mean, he even popped all of round 76 at the very start of the track. But this brings us to round 79, where Lenny made his final purchase, sticky clicks. This makes each click leave behind a dart on the track, and when balloons pass over it, several darts shoot out, making Lenny lethal even when he's clicking on nothing. This smoked the rainbows on 79, but the BFBs lived for a while. He still popped them before the first loop, but the fortified ones survived a ton of clicks before going down. But now, all that's left is the ZOMG. Lenny would find it from time to time, but it moved so slow that he kept getting ahead of it and losing where it was. So it wasn't until the ZOMG got to the top right of the map that Lenny started doing some real damage, and his icicle clicks made it move in slow-mo. And not much after that, Lenny popped it down to nothing, making my computer able to beat hard mode just by clicking. I'm gonna try to beat chimps, but with an AI picking my monkeys. So with that, let's start up this program, and it should start us up. Oh my goodness, we got a good start. Finally. All right, so we still have full control over its targeting and its upgrades, but we don't get to pick what monkeys we place or where. Now, I used a naive Bayes algorithm for this, which is just a fancy way of me saying that I gave a program 100 locations in the green area that are all good spots for monkeys, 300 locations in the red area that are all bad spots for monkeys, and there was some overlap in the purple, so there were some yeses and some nos here. From this info, the AI can guess if I would approve of new spots or reject them. So every time I ask for a new monkey, a random spot gets generated. Then the AI either approves of the spot and places the monkey, or it rejects it and asks for a new one. This process continues until it gets a spot that the AI thinks I would like. And to get around trying to place monkeys where they can't be placed, we have the auto nudge mod on, which snaps the mouse to the nearest open placement for whatever monkey we want. Well, that solves our lead issue, I guess, for now. I would have made it like a 013, but it's so far back, I don't really think that's an option. But, I mean, worst case, we make it like a 210 and it pops leads for us if we don't get something like an alchemist or a sniper down before that. See what else we can get. Dartling. Okay, Dartling's expensive, so I'll just keep the mouse there. That is nice. We can do a lot with the Dartling. So that's where it would have placed it. Beautiful. I don't know what I want. I just can't guarantee that we'll get him an Alchemist or a Mib is the issue. So I would love to make a Bloon exclusion zone, but I just don't know if he'll just be useless for DDTs. Another ninja. Okay. Well, it looks like we're just gonna have to get corrosive glue. That guy can become a sabotage, I guess. Please give me Quincy. Monkey ace. You hate to see that. Can't move my mouse. There we go. All right. I've given up on trying to get Quincy down. I thought it should be by now, but I guess I don't know my own AI. It has learned more than me. Yeah, I'm just gonna commit to double shot. Try not to lose with this insane start. So leads, I think I am just gonna get this guy. Put him on strong. Guaranteed to get to pop the leads now. After this round, hopefully we can get Quincy. Bam. Let's go. Thank goodness. Nothing like around 27 Quincy placement, am I right? Dang, off that one round hit level 3. Jeez.
Did you really think you could get away with watching a 10-minute video without a sponsorship?
This video is sponsored by HalloweenCostumes.com. I've been using them for years now and can't recommend them more. I've been the Big Lebowski, Shark Boy, Miles Morales, and now I'm deciding between a Dart Monkey and Tamatoa from Moana. And if you already have a costume, they have amazing seasonal sweaters like this Deadpool one or this Scooby-Doo one that glows in the dark. This Penguin one got me free drinks all night on New Year's Eve, and this Star Wars one almost got me banned from a club. So just click the link in the description or pinned comment to let them know that I sent you. Do we want to get this guy up to a 023, or do I just get a Packle? Because if we can't give them lead popping power, it looks like it's going to be pretty hard. Maybe we just get a Packle and then like a 520 Sky Shredder. Seems fine, right? For now, I guess we can just save up. Get you. Now we will actually be useful. We're going to get Laser Shock. Rocket Storm is also good. Will really help out in like 63, but I think the Packle is just the easy way to go. Although we had a really weird start, the monkeys we were given, not that bad. We're obviously in the glue gang, our glue gunner. Would have liked to not get this one so early, but it's nice to know that we'll have a sabotage for the late game. Not gonna get laser cannon. I think I'll just save straight up for Bloon Jitsu. Maybe to guarantee round 40, we can just make this guy a 320 now, you know? Get a little extra lead popping power with those pineapples. Now we can help out with camos as well. Now everything can see camos except for our glue gunner. So unfortunately, Quincy won't be able to help with DDTs unless we get an Alchemist or a Village on him. And I can't guarantee that that'll happen. Are we gonna get an ODS by 40? We will. That's actually very nice. Sure, use the ability, why not? Guarantee that we beat the round. All right, let's see what we get. I'm just gonna lock you for now. Spike Factory. Oh, we can actually, that's a good spot. I think I'm gonna go Permaspike and make it a 205. Although not at the very back. That's solid. I mean, we could. Oh, I'm a genius. Also really dumb. We can make this guy a 250. Dang, now I could have gone with the bottom path. Dang. Almost instant regret. I swear, if we don't get an Alchemist or a Village, I'm going to be so sad. But hopefully we can still win without him. If we don't get him. All right, $12,000. Let's just turn auto start on. And I think we'll be good. Nice. Go Glue Gunner. That Glue Gunner is surprisingly useful. I wasn't ecstatic about its placement, but it's turned out pretty nice. All right, this Plasma Accelerator is going to be a huge increase in power. Now our only real weakness is purples, but we have an ODS, an Operation Dartstorm, Quincy, and a Bloon Jitsu to take those out. Now, the Plasma Accelerator is a mid-game monster that'll carry us until Super Ceramics start coming on round 81. Luckily, this should be enough time to save up for a Sky Shredder, but boy would I love to have a Mib to let our Packle pop purples, and so we could have crosspathed our ace with sharper darts. 10 grand, and we have our Sky Shredder. Unfortunately, it is a 520 because who would want Who would want a 501? That would be silly. Imagine buffing your Sky Shredder. Couldn't be me. Definitely gonna want to use Arrow Storm on round 76. Now I'm gonna stall this round because I would love to have that back up for 78. And I feel like I normally do. I'm just gonna guarantee it, you know? That was actually very nice spreading them out. We'll wait a little bit, make sure that we have our level 10 up for next round. Nice. Bam. And then, I feel like I'm gonna regret locking that, but it's also kind of nice, you know? All right, we'll unlock it. I'll just hands off the mouse. Do I want another monkey? I'll tell you what, for now, we'll just get a downdraft to 032. And by we'll see, I mean, yeah, we're gonna get another monkey. A Druid. What a mistake. Why did I get another monkey? We'll get another monkey. A wizard? We could get a Prince of Darkness. Do I want a Prince of Darkness? That's the real question. We could also just get a 7 Phoenix. It's kind of past its time. All right. Do we want a Prince of Darkness or do we want Permaspike? Probably Permaspike. Just because we already have put so much money into it. We're basically there. And we don't really need the camo detection because everything, all our important towers already have that. Though the pod would clean up the ceramics so nicely. Oh well. Only we could get an engineer for like an overclock. That would be lovely. Overclock our Sky Shredder. Dare I place one more? No, I will wait. All we need, 32,400. Feel like we make plenty of money in the next like 5 rounds to where that shouldn't be an issue. I'm also having to micro the Packle quite a bit. Oh, we'll probably get it this round, no? Hey, we did. Oh, okay. Prince of Darkness. Kind of goated. So I think that is what we will get. I'll place down one more monkey just to be safe, you know? Glue Gunner. Another one. All right, so yeah, we're gonna get a prince. Do we even get that much money? I guess there's only one way to find out. I could very easily just look it up, see how much money we make in the next few rounds. That's a lot of super ceramics. If 91 is tough, I'm not looking forward to 98, that's for sure. Also, the nice thing about our Necromancer is that he might shimmer some DDTs. So our glue gunners can help out. Hopefully we have enough single target damage for the bad, if we even make it there. Don't really want them plowing through. Dang, our Necromancer is popping off right now. The round that I assumed I would have a Sabotage Ninja for. Yes, I could still get it, but it looks like we're not going to. For whatever reason. Quincy can't really help because he's not elk buffed, doesn't have a MIB. Don't need him though. Run 95, notoriously easy. Ooh, should I just pivot and get our glue storm? Nah, I like the pod too much. Plus the balloons are kind of just doing work as a necromancer, not even a prince. So imagine once it gets that title upgrade. All right, so we get it after this round, just fine because this round, piece of cake. All right, once we see a bunch of mobs clumped, then we can use Storm of Arrows. I'm seeing them, but I know the arrows will go on the ceramics. There we go. That's nice. Use the ability. Can't even see how big our spike pile is anymore. Hopefully it's massive. We got our glue strike. It's no glue storm, but we can strike them. Okay. Pop in the bad. DDTs. Nice. And the ZMGs. I think we got this. I think we got this in the bag. Uh-oh. Our prince is running out. Let's strike. Let's go, baby. We beat chimps with an AI placing our monkeys. Now we have about 7 grand left over. So let's just see if we would have ever gotten a village. We would have got a buccaneer, then a dartling, then a tack shooter. Okay, I'm pretty glad we stopped when we did. We're just never... This thing loves dartling gunners. We're just never gonna get an alchemist. And then, okay, last one. Oh, it's that easy. We only needed like 10 more monkeys and we would have gotten elk. Well, there you go, boys. We beat chimps with an AI placing our monkeys. Not bad at all. We have 10 minutes and $1 million to set up a defense to last as long as possible. And we'll do it again with 1 minute and then just 10 seconds. I started the 10-minute timer and got to work on a couple sun temples. We made one up top with about 2k in support sacrifices and one down bottom with maxed out support and a bit of primary sacks. I only used the Ice Monkey's platform to try to get some money back from sacrificing, but I learned from this run that that bug doesn't work anymore. so we just made its main attack a bit better. Next, we froze the pool of water and placed a Homeland Defense, Energizer, Super Brittle, and Ezeali on the ice. This way, they can see most of the track and we'll get a ton of value out of them. And now, it's time for some cost-efficient defense. I learned from our last logs video that Shinobi buffed Bloon Jitsus are the way to go, as they do a ton of damage for how cheap they are. So we got our 3 tier 5 ninjas, a permabrew, and started filling the map with Bloon Jitsus and Shinobis. Luckily for us, I have the copy-paste mod on, which saves us a bunch of time placing them. Outside of the ninjas, we got a support Chinook to move the permabrew around, several embrittlements to give us extra damage, a final harmonic for shorter cooldowns on Ezeali, and a call to arms for an attack speed and pierce boost when our homeland is on cooldown. We finished placing most of our towers around the 5-minute mark and hit play. The reason I did this so early was because I wanted to be completely hands off when the timer hits 10 minutes. I figured the 10-minute defense would have 25 times more monkeys than the 1-minute or 10-second runs, and going around ultra boosting every single ninja would take over an hour, taking away from this 10-minute challenge. So we moved the alchemist around the map a few times, set up tech bots for all our important abilities, and ultra boosted both sun temples. And in the final 20 seconds, we spammed Bloon Jitsu ninjas, running out of time with about 13k left in the bank. There were only a couple big misses that I forgot about. A Cripple Moab and Glue Storm, but it's too late for them now. As we could expect, this crushed the early hundreds. $1 million is much more than you'd get in a normal game that ends here, but eventually it caught up to us. It took 100 rounds, but the 200s are where things started to get far. Even when it was just 2 fortified bads and we used Hex, the second one made it to the log up top. Not that big of a deal, but once we started facing fortified ones layered on top of Moab class Bloons, the blimps would routinely make it this far. But it doesn't help that the Bloons on round 201 suddenly jump up to 4.5 times speed and have over 24 times health. These numbers are impressive and increase with every round, but over the next 30 rounds, the Bloons didn't get that much farther. Almost every one of them popped before the next log. But then it started to spiral. Between rounds 235 and 255, bads started getting much deeper into the map. If there were enough bads to tank a hex or two, the whales would get over halfway, with round 254 being the gold standard. The last fortified bad on this round made it to the final log, over 80% of the way to the exit. If the rounds had continued like this one, we would have been in trouble, but it took a perfect storm for a Bloon to make it this far. In fact, it only happened a couple times between here and round 268, but in the 270s, it happened just about every round. And Moab Hex normally had to clutch up the ending like on 272. But eventually, our luck with Hex timings wore off, and an entire fortified bad made it to the exit. The sad thing, there were still 4 bads left when this one leaked, so we didn't have a chance. Had we been able to ultra boost every single monkey, we would have made it much farther, as many of the Bloon Jitsus dealt over 30 million damage as is, and the tier 5 ninjas were at 100 million or higher. But the clear leader in damage was Ezeali, with 584 million, as her Moab Hex was carrying us for most of free play. But now, it's time to cut our time by 90% and try this again with only 1 minute to set everything up. Here we go. 3, 2, let's put my mouse here. 1, go. Boom. Get you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do it. Get this guy. You. Oh, 4, 5. Permabrew. Kind of cooking, not gonna lie. Get you like that. We're gonna want an ultra boost most likely. Oh, okay. What else do we want? Well, I think I'm gonna get you down. Sure. Oh, I am hard panicking right now. We'll hit play, just so that we can go into free play. Tech bot you, over boost you, tech bot ya. Tech bot, yeah. All right. I did not get to place this guy and make it a call to arms was the plan. We just ran out of time. But we got everything off, which is great. Ooh, I did not set Ezeali to strong. Oh, I didn't get an energizer either. Ooh, that might be tricky. I got a super mines. What was I thinking? It's okay. We'll be fine for a while. So let's sit back and watch, I guess. With our hodgepodge of towers, we headed into free play. It was more than enough for anything heading our way, as the first few rounds were popped off screen if the homeland defense was active. Even if it was on cooldown though, it only took a little longer to take the Bloons out. I figured this would change once bad started coming, but I was proven wrong. Ezili used her Hex at the end of round 139, so it was on cooldown for the fortified bad of 140, and without it, we did just fine. Our monkeys not only broke it open before the first log, but popped everything inside before the second whale even spawned. This was the first time we got to see our Sun Temple really shoot away, and wow, is it much stronger than the rest of our monkeys. Sure, it helps that it's ultra boosted, but having 3 maxed out categories clearly lets it do some damage. There was just one thing that made me worry. The fact that we left Ezili on first instead of switching her to strong. The first time we saw this in effect was around 179, where our Hex jumped from so many DDTs to BFBs to ZOMGs that it ran out of charges before hexing the bad. Now, we still had plenty of damage to pop the whale, but we could see the writing on the wall. And this came to be on round 221. We started off strong with a Hex on a bad the moment it spawned, letting us pop it and the first half of the second whale. Moabs tried to pass this bad and tank the Hex, but our Sun Temple's knockback kept that from happening. Or so I thought. The Temple's knockback can't push back BFBs or larger, and there was a ZOMG just barely in the lead. And because Ezili was set to first, her second Hex of the round started on it. And to make things worse, the second ZOMG broke open and Hex used a few jumps on the blimps inside. With less jumps came less damage on the next few bads, leaving a fortified one healthy enough to make it to the end. But that's when our Legend of the Night came up big. You see, he summons a black hole that absorbs leaking balloons and prevents us from losing any lives for the next 8 seconds, but it has a long cooldown of 3 minutes. Unfortunately for us, the 8-second window of invincibility was too short to catch everything. Tons of ceramics and Moabs got through. Had Hex come off cooldown a bit earlier, we might have been able to squeak by, but this was the end. 53 rounds earlier than our 10-minute run. But 221 isn't bad, and the Sun Temple led the pack in damage with 151 million damage, beating out Ezili, who had 118 million. But now we're on to the 10-second run. Alright, we have $1 million and 10 seconds to place down as many towers as we can to defend the free play rounds. I'm thinking we get Homeland Defense, Permabrew, Legend of the Night, and a Flying Fortress. I don't know if we'll have the time, and we also won't be able to set up the tech bots because it's set it and forget it. So let's see if we can place these. 3, 2, 1, go. No, come on, no. Oh, my hands were off. I didn't hit stop timer, but my hands were off the keyboard in time. So let's see how far this can go. It's not the best setup, but for 10 seconds, it's not too bad. There we go. It should pop round 100 just fine. Nice. But free play, it's gonna get tricky. So we will just let it run. These 4 monkeys were more than enough for the start of free play. In fact, the Flying Fortress was popping most of the balloons before they even got in range of our other towers, like round 104, where a single balloon didn't even turn the first corner. So even with only 10 seconds, we put together a decent defense. The Ace and Super Monkey were our 2 damage dealers, while the Village and Alchemist gave them the buffs they needed to beat the rounds. I do wish I could have gotten Ezili and some tech bots down, but that would have been tough to pull off. For the next 30 or so rounds, our towers put on a show. Not even fortified DDTs were getting very far, as we popped the ones on 138 near the first log. But then, we faced the first fortified bad of the run, and this was our first time not having Ezili's Hex to one-shot it. I had no idea what to expect, and without that, the purple whale made it over halfway through the track. It's clear that bads are our weakness, but luckily for us, we don't have to face another fortified one until round 200, so we only have to worry about the basic ones that have half the health. That being said, even those were getting pretty far, as the bad on round 146 got to the 3rd log before breaking open, with the insides getting to the halfway point. And this round only had one of them. Sure, it spawned behind a few blimps, so it didn't get focused right away, but once more started coming, we'll be in trouble. Round 151 had 4 of them. They were marching through the track, but it was kind of nice for our legend of the night. Having a few of them spread out let him attack more often, and his batarangs would ricochet to the others when they were close enough. Even with this, the whales got very far, as we didn't pop the outer layer of bads 3 and 4 until they were over 75% of the way through the map, and some DDTs even leaked. But thankfully, our Super Monkey's black hole was able to tank them. But that means we have to go without it for 3 minutes. Luckily, the next few rounds were easier and we didn't have to use it again until round 155. This round brought 3 bads, with the first 2 nearly on top of each other. Clearly, this was tough for our monkeys as we didn't pop the outer layers until the last log, leaving only the final straightaway to pop the insides. The DDTs hiding inside the first 2 bads broke for the exit, making it there only to be absorbed by the black hole, and the ZOMGs popped right before leaking. But the final bad made it too far. We cracked it open right next to the exit, and the DDTs took us out, ending our 10-second defense on round 155. But our 2 damage dealers were nearly identical in pops. The Flying Fortress had 24.6 million damage, and the Legend of the Night had 23.5 million. But that was how well our defenses held up, with $1 million and 10 minutes, 1 minute, and 10 seconds of time. We're going to try to beat Deflation Chimps, a custom challenge where we'll go from rounds 31 to 100 with only $20,000. 1 life, no monkey knowledge, no selling, and no powers, so the hardest of both game modes. We started off with a double discount village in Corvus. I figured I can almost do a 1 TC with him, so he'd be a good starting point. Then we had to figure out what to spend our remaining $14,805 on. Our main issues would be camos, purples, and Moabs. So what towers can help with all of these? I started with a 204 Mermonkey, as not only can it pop purples and provide amazing stalls for Corvus, but it also decamos Bloons that get lured into its song. And with the rest of our money, we picked up a 013 Glue Gunner for some consistent slows and jungle drums on the right village. With this, we've effectively made logs much longer because of how slow the Bloons will be moving, and our Siren's song will distract them constantly. This will not only let Corvus attack the Bloons longer, but also give him more time to get his spells and abilities off cooldown each round, and with that, we hit play. Now, I knew getting levels on Corvus should be our main priority because we're starting on round 31 and we have almost no money to spend on him. Normally, on a run like this, you'd spend hundreds of thousands of dollars leveling Corvus up alongside Nourishment, but here we have to do it with only his mana. But that's why we have the stalls of the Glue Gunner and the Mermonkey. We can cast Nourishment more often this way. So that's what we did. I put the Mermonkey's shell right next to Corvus so he could always haunt Bloons, and I used Soul Harvest basically whenever it was up. This let us sacrifice a full mana pool basically every time. And for rounds 37 and 38, we were able to Soul Harvest all of the leads thanks to the stalls instead of having to cast Spear or Ember. But this brings us to round 40 and the first Moab of the run. We started the round with a Nourishment and just let Corvus's base spirit do the damage. Normally this would be a lot closer, but because of the stalls we were actually able to pop the Moab layer about 1/4 of the way through the track, and we cleared up the insides without issue. This put us just $193 away from level 7, so you know I spent that money leveling him up. It would have been way cooler to get down to exactly $0, but getting down to 7 is fine too. Anyway, we continued our trend of only casting Nourishment, but then we faced our first purples of the run, and they were camouflaged. I didn't want to cast any spells to see how fast our setup could handle these, and I was very impressed. The Mermonkey was not only able to decamo every single purple, saving us a vision, but also popped all of them to yellows or below, so no spells were needed this round. This wasn't always the case though, as round 48 also has camo purples, and here it took us 2 tries. The first time, the Mermonkey wasn't able to decamo every one of them, and I only cast Trample and not Vision, so our spirit skipped right over the camos that leaked. The second time though, our Siren either decamoed them all or fully popped them. Either way, a single trample beat the round. As for round 49 though, this was our first time getting overwhelmed. Even with Spear, Corvus wasn't able to keep up with all the Bloons. To get around this, we started the round with an Ember to pop all the ceramics and zebras. Then, once the Regrow Rainbows came, we used Spear. This let us pop the round and still have plenty of mana and spells available for round 50. Here though, all we did was use Soul Harvest a few times and cast Ember near the end of the round, and then sacrifice the rest of our mana. Round 51 has some camo ceramics that were easily picked up by our Mermonkey, but to take out all the Regrows, we needed to use Ember again. While I wasn't a fan of using this much mana all the time, we did leak without it, so it was kind of necessary. But the rest of the 50s were pretty straightforward. We cast Ember every time the Bloons got far, used Spear on the ceramics on round 55, cast Vision for all the camo rainbows on 56, and continued to spam Nourishment whenever possible. The exciting thing is we hit level 10 at the end of round 57, meaning Corvus learned his Dark Ritual ability, which is amazing at clearing weaker Bloons and making tons of mana. The first first time we used this was on the start of round 59, and it instantly maxed out our mana pool, letting us use Spear to beat the round. But that brings us to round 60 and the first BFB of the run. This is normally the last round of deflation, but we still have 40 rounds to go after this. Luckily, between Moab Glue and the Mermonkey, we broke the BFB layer before it even made it through the first log, giving us plenty of time to pop the insides. Not only did we do this with just an Ember, but we also managed to squeak in a Nourishment mid-round. Then we popped all the Regrow Zebras on 61 with a Malevolence, a spell that I almost never use. But it worked perfectly here, and the Spirit and Dark Ritual cleaned up the rest of the round. But now we're under round 62 and it's crazy amount of purples. To get past this, we cast Repel to slow them down, and once a purple was closing in on the exit, we cast a Trample. This took care of everything but the camos and Moabs, but that's nothing a Vision and Ember can't solve. And just like that, we were on to round 63. We started off by toggling on Spear and Aggression and casting Dark Ritual. This took out the first rush of ceramics and filled our mana pool. Once the first wave was finished, we cast Echo to take out the second wave of ceramics, and as the third wave came through, we used Soul Harvest to reap some of them. This made the third wave much easier, and we popped it just fine even though Echo wore off. But the rest of the 60s were super easy. We kept sacrificing as much mana as possible with Nourishment, and we really only had to cast Ember from time to time because of how much our other monkeys were slowing down the Moabs and BFBs. But that brings us to round 70. Right away we cast Vision and Spear just to make sure we could pop all the camo whites that come on this round. Maybe the Mermonkey could have kept up with them, but honestly it wasn't a big deal because of how fast we were making mana with our abilities. The next funky round was 74, where I accidentally made a Regrow Farm out of the fortified camo Regrow ceramics that come in the middle of the round. To get around this, we cast Vision and Ember once they started getting past the Mermonkey, which didn't give them enough time to regrow and multiply. Then we finished off the round with a Nourishment Dark Ritual combo and auto attack the BFB down to nothing while we got our abilities and spells off cooldown. The great thing about the Mermonkey and Corvus is that the song keeps a ton of Bloons inside the range of Dark Ritual for a super long time, so it deals a ton of damage and makes him much more mana than usual. For round 75, we just used Ember, Aggression, and Spear, and it was more than enough to take out the round, even with us squeaking in a Nourishment. 76 was absolutely free, as Corvus's base Spirit could one-shot the ceramics, and a Soul Harvest took out half of them, and round 77 we beat with an Ember and both abilities. But now we're under round 78, which is normally tough for Corvus as it has purples and camos to deal with. We opened with a max size Nourishment and instantly got back to full mana with a Soul Harvest on the first ceramic rush. With this chunks of Bloons missing, the base Spirit finished off the ceramics pretty easily, and we were able to push all the Bloons back to the entrance. Once the purples started spawning, we cast Repel to slow them down, and once the ceramics came in, we cast Vision and Trample, which popped the rest of the round for us. Round 79 looked like it was going to be super easy, as our Spirit was one-shotting the rainbows and Dark Ritual made us oodles of mana, but shortly after this we accidentally made a Regrow Farm too big to handle. So the second time around, once they made it through the ritual, we cast Echo and Storm to push them back, and once Echo wore off, we cast Ember. This was able to take out all the rainbows, and a mixture of normal attacks and Soul Harvest finished off the rest. Onto the ZOMG. The start was painfully slow, but after it was about a fourth of the way through the track, I activated Aggression for a little bit to speed things up. I also moved Corvus around the map with it so he could keep Soul Harvesting, but once we hit the limit on how many times we could use that in a round, I moved him back to his normal spot. And once the Moabs broke down into ceramics, I cast Ember to make sure nothing leaked. Round 81 is when super ceramics start coming, but all we needed was Aggression and both abilities to pop everything. But round 82 is where we did something fun. Once all the BFBs were close, I cast Overload, exploding our Spirit and breaking everything down into either nothing or just fortified Moabs. This is probably my favorite spell to cast, and I love it when it makes a round this easy, as it lets us get all our abilities off cooldown like it did here. All we did here was clean up the round with an Aggression, and we headed into round 83 with a full mana pool. Here we didn't need much, just an Ember and Repel near the end of the round, and we were able to sacrifice 800 mana in the process, as well as go into round 84 with a full mana pool. Surprisingly, this round didn't need any spells to get by, so we just cast Nourishment and used Dark Ritual to get back up to max mana for 85. But Corvus is already level 17, so even though we don't have any money to spend on him, we're on pace to getting him to 20 for the late 90s. For round 85, we opened with Aggression, and once we got the mana, cast Overload on the two ZOMGs. This broke the first one down to BFBs, which let us effectively cast Dark Ritual to get tons of mana, and between Aggression and the song, the BFBs were taken out pretty easily. Then we just had to do it again for the second ZOMG, so we just rinsed and repeated what we did the first time. Round 86 took absolutely nothing to beat, but 87 was another fun one. I moved Corvus around the map using Spirit Walk so that we could constantly be soul harvesting these ZOMGs and keeping up Aggression. But after the ZOMGs looked like they were feeling it, I had the genius idea to Nourishment away all of our mana. Luckily, right as Soul Harvest came back, we broke two of the ZOMGs down to BFBs, so our ability filled our pool, and we used this to cast Overload. This explosion took out everything, but the last UMG, which we popped with Aggression and Ember. Round 88 was a bit tougher, but we took out all the Moabs and BFBs with an Echo Overload combo, leaving us with just 2 hurt ZOMGs that were pretty easy to pop with just our base spirit and moving the song around a bit to get more use out of it. Round 89 took quite a few tries, but what got us through was an early overload to take out all the fortified Moabs at the start of the round. Then, once the BFBs got involved, we cast Echo and Aggression, topped off our mana pool with a Dark Ritual, sacrificed a mana away to Nourishment, and got it all back with the Soul Harvest. Then we cast Repel and Frostbound to finish the round. But now we're in the 90s and are about to face DDTs. Just like we planned, the Mermonkey was able to decamo all 3 of the DDTs on round 90, and we popped them with an Ember. A strong showing from our boy Corvus. Then, a few seconds into round 91, we cast our final Nourishment to the run as it made him hit level 20. With a maxed out Corvus, we can now focus all of our mana on spells to beat the round. Obviously, I used an overload to pop basically everything on this round and moved on to round 92. Here we just played it simple. Cast Echo, Aggression, and Ember to take out the Moabs and then focus down the ZOMGs. Now, I really wanted to use overload here, but I knew that round 93 might be tough with his DDTs, so we just kept Aggression on, moved the Siren Song around to be more useful, and cast Ember again near the end of the round. And this let us head into round 93 with a good amount of mana and only Ember on cooldown. Here, we waited until all 6 of the DDTs were caught in our Mermonkey song before casting Ancestral Might, one of Corvus's strongest spells. This makes his spirit turn into a giant hand that deals massive damage but has much less range. This took out all the DDTs and most of the fortified BFBs. Then we just cast Aggression, Repel, and eventually Frostbound, and we were able to pop everything. On to round 94. To no one's surprise, we opened with an overload. This took out most of the BFBs, and after cleaning up a few Moabs, we were able to focus on the ZOMGs. Here, we just left Aggression on and cast Overload again once it came off cooldown. This left us with just a ZOMG, 1 BFB, and a few Moabs, all of which were pretty easily popped with just Corvus's base spirit. But now we're on to round 95, the round I couldn't beat in my Corvus 1TC. I opened with a Vision Repel combo to slow down the purples as long as I could. Then, when they were nearing the end of the track, I cast Trample to pop them all and get ready for the 30 DDTs. This took a few tries because sometimes the Mermonkey song would cause the Trample to miss a couple purples, but once it worked, I cast Recover to get our spells off cooldown faster. Our Mermonkey and Glue Gunner stalled excellently during this time, and once the DDTs were about halfway through the track, I cast Vision once again. This guarantees Corvus can see all the DDTs, and after using Dark Ritual, I cast Echo and Ancestral Might. This combo demolished the DDTs, but tons of Super Ceramics were heading towards the exit. We had no way of popping them, so I cast Soul Barrier to use some of our mana to tank any leaking Bloons. While this was happening, Ancestral Might came to an end, and we cast Frostbound and Ember, and then Repel and Aggression to finish the rest of the round. Whew! Round 95 is over. Round 96 is scary too though, because of how long it takes everything to spawn. For the start, I let Corvus's base spirit run amok, but once the Moabs started getting pretty far, I cast Aggression and Echo to start dealing some real damage. Then, once the spirits were overlapped with the BFBs, I cast Overload, popping most of the round. Then, we just had to clean up some Moabs and pop the ZOMGs. Luckily, the Moabs were handled with just Aggression, so we could cast Ember, Frostbound, and Repel to pop the ZOMGs. Round 97 was free, as we just used Aggression and Storm to break down the ZOMG layers, while Aggression, Repel, and Frostbound were able to handle the insides. But now, we're on to the big, scary round 98. I opened with an Echo Overload to deal massive damage to everything, then cast Aggression and Ember to break the ZOMGs down to BFBs, leaving us with a ton of Red Lobsters to pop. From here, we just let our Red Spirit attack away until Overload was back off cooldown, and I waited until it was on top of the large group of BFBs. This took almost everything left, but Bloons almost leaked while our spirit was recovering. Luckily, our Mermonkey came in clutch and scooped up all of these until our spirit was back in action. Then we popped the rest with an Aggression and moved on to round 99. Here, we have 9 fortified DDTs to deal with. I waited until the DDTs started entering the screen before casting Vision, Echo, then Ancestral Might. This popped just about every blimp, leaving us with mostly Super Ceramics to deal with. We tanked a few with Soul Barrier, but the rest were taken out with a Repel Frostbound. And now all that's left is the bad. I started off the round with a Recovery to get our spells back off cooldown. The second we could, I cast Echo and Ancestral Might to deal massive damage to this purple whale, and I moved Corvus around the map to keep being in range to use Soul Harvest. Once we had the mana and our spells came back off cooldown, I used this combo again, popping the outer layer and the DDTs inside. This left us with just 2 ZOMGs, and after our base spirit broke them down to BFBs, I cast Overload one last time to pop everything and beat our Deflation Chimps run. And we almost pulled off a 2 MPC in the process, as Corvus had 1.9 million pops. Chimps is a game mode in BTD6 intended to be the true test of a Bloons master. It disables selling, monkey knowledge, ways to get extra lives, all forms of pay to win features, and any way of getting extra money. At least it's supposed to. In a normal game of Chimps, you earn $178,909.4. However, we're going to try to get over 200,000. How? Well, there are two bugs that I know of that give extra money. The first is if you use an ability like the anti-bloon or first strike on the bad. If you manage to pop the bad layer and its DDTs without killing the ZOMGs, you actually get the bad's money twice, meaning you get $2,755 instead of the usual $1,535 from round 100. Not very useful since the game is over after this and it provides barely any money, but I think it's kind of funny. The second way is what we'll be doing today. Regrow farming. There's a type of balloon that heals its layers back if it hasn't been damaged for a few seconds. These are called regrow balloons. Now, if one of these regrow balloons gets damaged and splits into multiple weaker ones, all of them can grow back to their original strength, multiplying how many balloons are on screen. Creating more balloons than initially spawned is called a regrow farm. This is normally a bad thing and is a common way for players to lose. However, we're going to use it to make extra money. Back in BTD5, each pop would provide money, so as long as you could keep up with how fast you were multiplying them, you'd get infinite cash. Unfortunately, that's not the case in BTD6, as only layers that haven't been popped yet give money. And therein lies our loophole. A simple yet significant mistake. It's not that only the initial balloon gives money, it's any layer that hasn't been popped yet. So what we need to do is pop a layer of a regrow balloon, let it regen as much as possible, then deal more damage than we initially did to get the extra money. The best way to do this is to deal little damage up front, let them regrow, and then insta-kill them near the back of the track. This will give us plenty of extra layers to pop, and the damage in the back will stop us from leaking. In testing, we made about 3 times as much as we were supposed to from round 79, but there's a huge difference between sandbox mode and chimps. How much money we'll have to set up our defenses. With that, we booted up a game of Chimps on Cubism. I picked this map because it was easy enough to get through the early and mid game for barely any money, as well as giving us plenty of room to make a regrow farm. The start was simple: beat the early rounds with a druid and submarine and spend most of our money on the end of track defenses. Now, the Ray of Doom that we used in testing is a bit too expensive for this run, so we pivoted to a balloon exclusion zone. This way, we could rely on its tier 4 upgrade to defend for a while and hopefully get the Bez up in time for the late game. The only problem is that it's still quite expensive, and if we're going to make over 200k this run, we need to farm as many regrow rounds as possible. So, as you might have guessed, we didn't have it up in time. We accidentally popped the round 39 regrows with our druid and submarine. Round 42 kept overwhelming our buckshot, so we had to beat that round as well. Heck, we didn't even get the bads up by the end of round 49, so we wasted that money too. Round 51 though is where things started to change. We had our bads at the end of the track to lock things down, and our druid of the storm keeping the regrows alive. This wasn't a perfect stall, as it did peter out pretty quick, but we turned the 10 regrow rainbows into a couple hundred that were all popped pretty easily, definitely making us some extra money. But this showed us that one druid can't keep up the farm all by himself. He'll need the help of a 032 glue gunner. This won't only let the druid keep up with more balloons though, it also gives the regrows more time to heal when they're outside of the druid's range. A win-win. So over the next 20 or so rounds, we worked on getting 2 discount villages, 3 glue splatters, and started saving up for the balloon exclusion zone. If we wanted to make real money, we'd need to create massive regrow farms, and the Bez will keep them from leaking. But we weren't even close to getting it in time. Round 76 overwhelmed us time and time again, to the point where we had to use the bads from the get-go just to beat the round. This still made some extra money, but a lot was left on the table. And to make things worse, we really only have one more round to make extra money. Round 79. While this is our biggest opportunity yet, as it spawns 500 regrow rainbows, it marks the end of regrow farming, as balloons don't split into multiple children after round 80. As you might expect, this round didn't go great. We still didn't have the money for the Bez, so we needed 2 rings of fire to prevent leak. Still though, we made over $12,000 from this round alone. Obviously, not as much as we'd like, but I'm not going to complain about an extra $5,500. Fast forward through the end of the run, and we beat the game with a total cash count of $185,869, $6,960 more than normal, almost all of which came from round 79. On to attempt number 2. We switched over to carved, as this is where the cash bug was explained to me, and we tried again. This time aiming for a perma spike. Ideally, this will be able to place spikes down faster than the balloons get through the druid, so our defenses will get stronger as the round goes on. Once again, we accidentally popped the regrows on round 39, and round 42 showed us our problem. When the regrows get past the druid, they really get past the druid. There's no way a tier 3 Spectre is keeping up with this round, so we had to bail on this one too. Round 45 is when we got the Deadly Spikes upgrade and significantly increased our end of the track wall. If there was any hope for this run, it'd start now. We made a little bit of money off the regrow purples of round 48, but 49 was the true test. 10 regrow rainbows. The farm got absolutely massive, started making extra money, and blew right through our spike pile. We fixed this with a ring of fire at the back of the track, but because this doesn't one-shot rainbows, it isn't guaranteed to deal more damage than the regrow balloon took while in the regrow farm. Still likely, but we will miss out on some money. The nice thing about our current setup though, is that we can end a regrow farm by switching the druids targeting to last and the glues to first. This will make the farm slowly peter out until the round ends. Then we just change the targeting priorities back to first and strong, and we're ready for the next round. With these defenses though, we're able to get our perma spectry on round 65. This made for smooth sailing, as the ring of fire would take out most of the leaking regrows, and if any made it past it, the spectry would take them out. With this combo, the spectry would actually place more spike piles down than were used during the regrow round. This trend continued until round 79, where the regrow farm was just too big. We had spent most of our money on more glue gunners, as the more we have, the bigger the farm gets. This drastically increases the extra money we get from the regrow rounds, but it also makes it much harder to defend. So after a few attempts of round 79, we folded and purchased another ring of fire. Honestly, not a big deal since we already had one of them. But this brings us to the end of the extra money making rounds. Throughout the rest of the run, we saved up for an Inferno ring and crossbow master, totaling 3 tier 5 monkeys, which let us pop the bad pretty easily. More importantly though, we made a total of $190,503, about 5k better than our last run. We were getting close to our goal, but I had 3 tricks up my sleeve. The first is the perfect monkey to use as our end of the track defense. The second is using Geraldo for his camo potions and other useful items. And the third is making a custom map just for this. The map is simple. The balloons enter, go back and forth several times, giving us plenty of time to make a massive regrow farm. Then they'll exit to the top of the track, where they'll spend even more time going back and forth, giving us time to pop them. And most importantly, there's plenty of space for us to put Geraldo and the villages off to the side as to not impact the performance of the regrow process. The start was very easy. Put a druid on the right side of the track, make him a 102, and place Geraldo in the bottom right corner of the map. We upgraded our druid to a 302, used Geraldo's nails and camo potions whenever necessary, and prepped our magnificent end of track defenses. By round 39, we had 2 discount villages and a 030 beast handler up top. That's right, we'll be going for a T-Rex as our insta-killer. Even a minimum power Velociraptor one-shots rainbows, and we had one up and running for round 39. Unfortunately, it was going to be overwhelmed quickly, so we ended the farm a bit early with a blade trap, but this gave me a ton of hope seeing how well a single Velociraptor did. Plus, we can always move the dino to the front of the track for non-regrow rounds. Next, we started our glue gunner section. We want as many 032 glue gunners as possible, so we started off with 2 discount villages and worked towards a glue splatter. But round 42 made it clear that we needed to upgrade our beast handler first. So we saved up to 10 grand and made this guy a T-Rex just in time for the round 49 regrows. It won't be as big as possible since the glue gunner isn't finished yet, but we made it a 022 by the time the regrow spawned. This did amazing. We made enough money for jungle drums and radar scanner for our beast handler and glue splatter for our glue gunner. Round 51 somehow went even better. The regrow farm went off without a hitch, the T-Rex was keeping up, and we were slowly making money. But because I couldn't really tell how many balloons were up top and how far they were making it, I used the T-Rex's stomp from time to time. This basically wiped out the top track, but more importantly, it was large enough to hit the farm down bottom, which gave me an idea. What if we use the stomps to end the farm once we stop making money? This almost worked with a minimum power T-Rex, but I still ended up using a blade trap this time. Soon though, they won't be needed. The next regrow round wasn't until 59. Here, we had 4 glue splatters with a 5th on the way, and our T-Rex was still holding down the top. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little afraid, as this was our first ceramic regrow farm, and it was massive. I mean, those glue gunners and druid were putting in work down there. This sphere caused me to overstomp early on, but we could still keep up with the top track. In fact, this stomping let us end the round without a blade trap. We just needed to stomp the top track and move the T-Rex down bottom right after to make the heart of the farm smaller. Then we just micro him around to make sure nothing leaks or regrows anymore. But now, it was time to make our T-Rex much bigger. Over the next 10 rounds, we made the most of every regrow opportunity, placed 6 new Velociraptors, merged them with our T-Rex, and maxed out his power. This guy now deals 90 damage, has 60 pierce, and attacks about twice a second. Not to mention that his stomps do a silly 214 damage with 436 pierce. Needless to say, he's pretty strong, and we really took advantage of those discount villages. We were never worried about leaking, as it was easier than ever to end the regrows once the money making process were over, but now it was time to make our Druid of the Storm a ball lightning and place a few more glue splatters before round 79, the cash cow of the entire run. We headed into this massive money making round with 7 glue splatters, a maxed out T-Rex, and a ball lightning. and yet we still leaked. The farm was so big that for the first time we were lagging like crazy before they even made it to the top of the track. There had to be a few thousand balloons on screen, tons of which were being glued, lightninged, and tornadoed every second. After a few tries, this is what we had to do. Let the druid and glues do their thing for a few seconds, then, before it got out of control, move the T-Rex down bottom to limit the size of this thing. Now, this isn't as efficient as if we had kept him up top, but it was necessary. After a few chomps, the Regrows made it up top, where we moved the T-Rex back to his rightful spot. From here, he did his usual thing, and because the druid was on first, he was shooting upwards instead of along the bottom, causing there to be much less splitting rainbows. This way, the T-Rex could keep up and we could go back to printing money. Near the end of the round, it was clear that our beast handler wouldn't be able to end this massive farm, so we used 3 blade traps to clean everything up. Not as efficient as it could have been, but I'll happily take making almost 20 grand from this round alone. The rest of the run, we just moved the T-Rex back and forth as needed. Here, I wish we had merged it with other T-Rexes instead of Velociraptors so we could make him a Giganotosaurus, but it was too late for that. Instead, we saved up for a Superstorm, which we got on round 92. I felt like continuing the stalling strategy was the only way to do this run justice, and with that, we coasted through the end, picking up some random upgrades and spending as much money as possible on Geraldo's shop. We beat round 100 and made a total of $204,667, over 25k more than you're supposed to make in a game of chimps. Now, you may be thinking, is this even viable in a chimps game? Well, kind of. Exterminator pulled off the Bloon Exclusion Zone Permabrew 2 TC only because of this cash bug. Without it, he wouldn't have been able to afford Permabrew and the Bez by round 95. Outside of niche scenarios like this, not really. Just be happy with any extra money you make. As for the limit of these cash bugs, the max chimps budget seems to be 256k. We are going to see how far we can get with $1 million. We'll be starting on round 100 and going as long as we can. Anyway, the first strat I thought of was a high degree Paragon next to Ezeli. I went with the Glaive Dominus as it's pretty cheap and destroys every type of balloon. Then, once Ezeli is max level, her Moab Hex can take out the bads. I filled the screen with boomerangs and spent all of our leftover money in the slider to make the biggest Paragon possible. This gave us a degree 61 and we were off to the races. We were crushing the rounds, popping everything the second it got in the Paragon's range, and Ezeli was leveling up incredibly fast. It only took until round 133 for her to hit level 20, which is in time for the fortified bad on round 140. Though, to test our Glaive Dominus, I let him deal with it on his own and he popped it less than 1/4 of the way through the map. Not bad. But that gave me the confidence to let the Boomerang Paragon handle the rounds without me needing to press Moab Hex for every bad. And this went on for a long time. It wasn't until round 191 that something leaked, and it was the DDTs inside the last bad of the round. A simple fix, as all we had to do was pop some of the bads with Ezeli's ability, and this gave the Dominus more than enough time to handle everything else. What was nice is that anything below a bad, the Dominus was pretty effective at stalling with his knockback ranks. Sure, some DDTs could get through, but ZMGs and below weren't really an issue, which was a relief. But with the occasional Moab Hex, we were able to make it to round 200, where Ezeli was able to pop both fortified bads on her own. But this is where I started using her ability basically anytime it was available. I knew the Dominus wouldn't be able to keep up with the bads, especially the fortified ones, so Ezeli is in charge of those while the Dominus handles everything else. This worked flawlessly, but all good things have to come to an end. And for us, it was round 230 where the massive rush of fortified DDTs was too much for us to handle, and there was nothing we could do. But in this run, the Dominus dealt over 500 million damage and Ezeli 128 million. Our next attempt was a little more calculated. Based off the last run, I knew bads and DDTs would be our main issue. So we got an Energizer and Final Harmonic to reduce the cooldown on Moab Hex, and the song will help stall DDTs for our Paragon. And we went right back to the well with the Glaive Dominus. I wanted a good comparison to see if these two support towers would truly make a difference. So I filled the map with boomerangs and managed to get a degree 60. This time, it only took 23 rounds for Ezeli to hit max level, but we knew that wasn't important as the Dominus can basically solo until the late 100s, so let's fast forward to then. On round 197 and 198, we were constantly using Moab Hex, and with our new monkeys, we could have it active over 100% of the time, making bads much less scary. The only thing we had to worry about was ending the round with the Hex, as that'll end its chain, and we might have to survive a bit without it. But this made the early 200s pretty easy. We could Moab Hex anytime a bad was on screen, and the DDTs were less of a threat because they'd get caught in the Mermonkey song, which negated their crazy speed this late in the game. Every once in a while, one would sneak through, but we could normally get around that by moving the shell to a better spot. Before we knew it, we were back on round 230. We handled the fortified DDTs DDTs just fine with this setup and used Ezeli's hex on the 3 bads, taking the last one out about halfway through the map. So we beat our old record and marched on. Nothing special happened until round 240, where we took on a ton of bads, the most we'd seen at once. At first, it seemed like too many to pop by the end, but after a couple tries, we managed to pop the final 2 on the last straightaway. The only problem is that we had to use hex at the very end of the round, so we'd have to wait a while into round 241 to get it back. And with this on cooldown, we weren't able to pop the fortified DDTs before they leaked. So 241 is our new record. For our 3rd attempt, I wanted to try a second Paragon. So I got our proven Ezeli Energizer final harmonic combo and then built a budget glaive Dominus. With just the 3 tier 5s and 25 022s, we got a degree 20. Then we spent the rest of our money getting the biggest Apex Plasma Master possible, which happened to be a degree 64. I turned the projectiles way down to make the recording less blurry and let our setup pop the rounds. It certainly seemed like we had more damage. I mean, the round 140 fortified bat was popped by the first log, whereas it made it to the second log last run, and Ezeli should be exactly as strong as last time. So I was pretty confident. We made it to the mid 190s before we had to start using Moab Hex, and we used it to pop the first few bads of every round, making sure to not accidentally end a round right after using it. The last thing I want to do is throw a run and have to start over, so I was super careful. Before I knew it, we were back in the 220s. We were still popping the bads faster than last run, which makes sense as we have 2 Paragons, and our Apex Plasma Master is getting the Glaive Dominus buff, which increases its attack speed by 11.1%. The only problem is that we were much weaker against DDTs. I assume this is because our Glaive Dominus attacks much slower as it's 40 degrees weaker, and this ultimately led to us leaking. Just like the first run, round 230's massive rush of DDTs got through. Even when we used Moab Hex on the DDTs, they still managed to leak. So we learned that with our 100% uptime on Moab Hex, stalling DDTs is more important than maximizing damage. And what is amazing at stalling anything below bads? The Master Builder. So we got our main combo and built a degree 28 Engigon in the middle bottom of the map. At first his damage was pretty lackluster, but I got his sentries down and he started stacking his overclocks with every round. And in just a little bit, he was cruising through the waves just like the runs before. As usual, we started using Moab Hex in the 190s to pop the bads in a reasonable time. What was different though was that everything else would basically be frozen in place due to the Master Builder stuns. Most of the time, we didn't even use the Mermonkey song because the Engigon was able to pop everything before it was needed. But this brings us to the 220s, where I finally had to intervene a bit more than just using Moab Hex. Now I had to start aiming the laser sentry at the bads to pop them faster. This let the Hex take out more bads per use, as it can jump to another bad once the first one is popped. And with this, we made it to the 230s, but our damage was getting low once again. So we had to use our final trick, constantly placing new sentries to deal massive amounts of explosion damage to nearby balloons. Between this, aiming the laser, and casting Moab Hex, we were squeaking through the rounds. And before I knew it, we were on round 241. But this time, the DDTs weren't a problem at all. They just got stunned until they were all popped. What were hard were the bads, as we popped several near the end of the track, and the final one was basically off screen when we beat it, but we made it past our old record. The next few rounds were basically the same. Cast Hex and try to deal as much damage as possible. Several times we popped the final bad near the end of the track, but we kept getting through, until around 249, where the bads were finally too much. One of them would always make it through. But this is our new record, and the Master Builder did an impressive 721 million damage. Now, this wouldn't be a true test if we didn't try the Navark of the Seas. So we got down Ezeli, a Lord of the Abyss, and placed as many boats as we could. Then we put all but 40k of our money into the slider to get a degree 32 Navark. Next, we sold the Lord of the Abyss and bought an Energizer and final harmonic. As you can imagine, we started trucking through the rounds. We have a good amount of damage with the Navark, DDT shouldn't be a problem between our Sung and his passive hooks, and we should be slightly better against bads as we can insta-kill 2 of them every round with the Navark's ability. I let this go slightly longer than the other runs, as we didn't need Ezeli's Hex in the 100s, meaning we got to around 200 hands-free. And here we tested to see if we could handle the fortified bads. Unfortunately, the answer was no, as the DDTs inside the first one leaked, so we had to try again and Moab Hex them down. From here, I used Hex just about every round. The second a bad came on screen, I would activate it, and our Navark would handle the rest. What was nice is I could be less conservative about ending the round with a Hex, because we could always use the Navark's hook if a bad was going to leak while Hex was on cooldown. Before I knew it, we were on round 230, our most common round to lose. We already had Hex off cooldown for the start, and the Navark popped every DDT super easily. They didn't even get halfway through the map. Then, between a Hex and a hook, we took out the bad shortly after. The next big round was 241, the round that our Glaive Dominus lost on. Here, we really only had to focus on the 7 bads that spawn. We hexed right away to take out the fortified ones, but this let the normal bads get pretty far. By the time our second hex wore off, the final bad was nearing the end of the track, and I didn't want to end the round with one of our abilities, so we let the Navark pop it manually. The DDTs almost leaked, but the ZOMGs were a piece of cake as they got caught in the song. We repeated this strategy every round, and we made it to 249, our current record. Here, Hex was on cooldown for the start, so we opened up with a hook and used Hex the second it was off cooldown. Each Hex would pop 2 to 3 bads, so after 2 hooks and 2 hexes, we were left with a single bad that the Navark took down, beating our old record. Between these 2 abilities, we coasted for several rounds, each one harder than the last except for round 263. This is hard-coded to only have a ton of DDTs and Moabs that are set up easily popped and got all of our abilities off cooldown. This let us go a bit farther, but eventually we hit a wall. Round 269 just had too many bads for us to take out. We got close, but it wasn't going to happen. Still, I can't be mad with this score, and the Navark did a whopping 1.3 billion damage. Now, we can't only do Paragons when trying for a max round, so next up was a VTSG. Unfortunately, we don't quite have enough money to make this guy, so I opted for a 2221 True Sun God in the middle of the map and gave him as much support as I could. It used almost all of our money, but we gave him a Mib, Abyssal Warrior, and some stronger stims to help out. This thing was popping the rounds just fine, but pretty soon it was clear we were doing much less damage than the previous runs. In fact, we had to start using Moab Hex on round 172 as bads were starting to get far and the rounds were lasting longer than we wanted. And by the time we were in the 190s, where we only started using Moab Hex in our other runs, the Bloons were routinely getting halfway through the map. Sure, we could rely on Ezelia to pop the bads, but we didn't have the money to back her up with a final harmonic and energizer to get a super short cooldown on it. But bads weren't even what eventually took us out. It was the large rushes of DDTs that came on round 209. Even when we helped out with a Moab Hex, some always got through. So this was our worst performance of the day. But now it's time for the classic free play strat. A Sun Temple with a ton of tier 5 monkeys around it. For support monkeys, we had an Ultra Boost, Permabrew, Super Brittle, Glue Storm, Call to Arms, and Homeland Defense. And for damage, we had an Avatar of Wrath, Spirit of the Forest, PMFC, and 22 ninjas. I wanted to work in a Cripple Moab and Total Transformation, but we kind of ran out of space and money as I was saving both of these for an Apex Plasma Master. This was much more hands-on than my previous runs as I focused on using Ultra Boost anytime it was up. This made us stronger with every round, and I gave basically every damage tower we have plus 67% attack speed. While working on this, I came to the conclusion that making an Apex Plasma Master with a ton of pops would be unfair to our other runs that made the Paragons before any Bloons spawn. So I spent the rest of our money on a Super Mines, Permaspike, and some various upgrades to get us down to a clean $1,000. Over the next 100 rounds, all I focused on was Ultra Boosting and flying our Permabrew around the map with our Chinook. This way, everything can have his buffs, making them much stronger. I wasn't always using Hex at this point because I wanted to use as many Ultra Boosts as possible, but our towers were still popping everything just fine. We had plenty of damage to go around, and our Master Bomber was amazing at stalling DDTs, giving us plenty of time to pop them. The only real problem was how long this run was taking, as the second thing spawned, my computer would slow to a crawl. But that's nothing we can't fight through. Fast forward to round 239, and we were putting the final touches on this amazing design. The only problem was that we were starting to struggle with bads, so I sold the Ultra Boost and moved some towers around to fit in a final harmonic and Lord of the Abyss. Then we sold Chinook and some Ice Monkeys to afford an Energizer in range of Ezelia so we could get that super short cooldown Hex for the late game. And this worked great as all of our towers got to keep the Ultra Boost stacks even though he was gone. Round 249, where the Master Builder lost. No problem, the Bloons didn't even make it halfway through the map. Round 269, where the Navark lost. A bit closer, but we managed to pop the last bad with basically every ability off cooldown. And this was kind of a pattern. The Bloons would get pretty far, but we'd end the round with Hex back up and ready to go. The only scary thing was the end of round 271 where I accidentally used Hex on the final 2 ZOMGs of the round. I was 3 hours into recording this run and days into recording this video, and I made a huge mistake. This is it. I threw. We're going to have to hope that round 272 doesn't start off with bads so we have time to get Hex off cooldown. But no. The first 2 Bloons that spawned were these massive purple whales, and more of them just kept coming. Panicking, I was using every ability at our disposal and spamming Hex when it was close to off cooldown. Our only hope was that we have enough damage that each Hex will take out 3 bads per use. And that's exactly what happened. Not only did we pop every bad, none of them even made it to the last pass of the map, showing that our damage is actually pretty insane. This gave me some confidence going forward that Hex didn't have to be off cooldown at the start of every round, but that was still something I was going to aim for. We chugged along. Round 280, 285, Heck, we even made it to 290, where the final bad made it to our perma spike pile before popping. I was starting to think we could actually do it, get to the end of the challenge editor, as that caps out at round 300. But if 290 is this tough, we'll have our work cut out for us. We started round 291, and I noticed just how crazy our final harmonic is. The extra Pierce he was getting from all our support monkeys made its song insane. I mean, it has to be distracting like 10 ZOMGs and 25 BFBs at the same time. And anything that's not distracted is getting perma-stunned by the Master Builder or blown back to the start of the map by the Sun Temple. With what we have, we can handle an obnoxious amount of ZOMGs and below, so unlike some other runs, I doubt DDTs will be our downfall. We just have to keep using Hex and our other abilities to take out the bads as fast as possible. We moseyed along, getting what seems like 20 frames per second, but that was okay as it let me use my abilities more effectively. Who cares about time when you have under 10 rounds left to go? Round 296 was the next close call as 6 bads made it to the final pass. Luckily, all of them had taken a beating by the time they got here, so Hex was taking them out pretty quick. I did have to change Ezili to target first instead of strong, as there were some fortified ones in the back, but that's just how it is this late in the game. At the very end of the round, 3 bads were nearing the exit. The normal one was popped and the insides were pulled into the Mermonkey song, and the fortified 2 were taken out by a Hex. The last one not only getting to the perma spike pile, but completely taking it out before popping, so our exit is now weak. Luckily, rounds 297 and 298 were a bit easier, but 299 was a doozy right off the rip. Bads were pouring out the spawn and they weren't stopping anytime soon. We focused the fortified ones with Hex, let our defenses pop the normal bads with their attacks, and the insides would get caught in the song. This worked just like normal, but we had to end the round with the Hex, so we're going into round 300 with Hex only half off cooldown. Luckily, no bad spawned for the first few seconds, and I just focused on using our other abilities that increase our damage. There were only 2 fortified bads that we had to worry about, and that's what Hex latched onto. While these 2 were being witch doctored, our other monkeys were popping the normal bads and cleaning up their insides. But after the 2 fortified ones popped, we only had a couple normal bads left, and the Hex took them out one by one. And just like that, we beat the max round of the challenge editor with only $1 million. And unexpectedly, I'm able to share this challenge. So if you want to try it out, the challenge code is in the description. I made the perfect map for beating chimps as fast as possible. The balloons come out the left side of the screen twice as large and twice as fast as normal. Then they loop around one single spot over and over again before leaving. This is great because our monkeys should be able to hit the entire map and will save some time with their increased speed because the final balloon of each round will make it on screen faster than normal. We started off with Sada, who soloed the first couple rounds on her own before we got down a wizard to help her out. This guy doesn't do much as is, but we rushed Wall of Fire, getting it in the middle of round 13. This is super nice as the map is so condensed that the wall should burn any balloon on screen. After we got our wizard to a 0-2-2, I placed down a Buccaneer right above the track. I was between this and a boomerang, but I figured a destroyer right next to the track would do some serious damage. We upgraded him to a 3-1-0 over the next several rounds, and we used Sada's sword leap ability from time to time to try to speed up the run. All that really matters for this is popping the last balloon of each round as fast as possible because the spawn times are set in stone. So it's just how fast we can start the next round after the last balloon spawns. This is kind of a guessing game, but I've been playing long enough that sometimes my guesses were spot on and sped us up by a little bit. We got the destroyer on run 31 and worked on our round 40 defense. The plan is to get a Moab assassin and one-shot round 40, but I wasn't sure we'd have the money and time, especially after everything we've bought already. I put him slightly off to the side as we need to save the good real estate for other towers later on, and started upgrading him to a 0-4-0. Luckily, we were able to afford him at the start of round 39, which gave us enough time for its ability to come off cooldown by the time the Moab spawned. And I was spam clicking his ability, so we beat round 40 without even seeing the Moab. But now our plan was simple. Make an overdrive below the track right at the start and place an embrittlement right next to it. This way we'll shred Moab class balloons as they enter the map, and the rest of our defenses will pop the insides. Then we buffed everything with a Jungle Drums village and upgraded our wizard to a 0-2-4 Necromancer. This is a super common speed running tower as its reanimated balloons can pop normal ones the second they spawn. And it's especially good on this map because all the balloons will be stacked on top of each other. This brings us to round 50, where I got jump scared by how big the Moab was. Oh, dude, that Moab was so big. That's funny. I totally forgot that I made the blimps twice as big too, as all of a sudden all of our towers were covered by a pufferfish. We popped it super fast, but I wasn't ready for such a big fish to appear so suddenly. But this led to our first big save up of the run. the Prince of Darkness, the tier 5 upgrade for the wizard, which drastically buffs his balloons and normal attacks. We were able to save up this money pretty easily, as we even popped around 63 and 64 without much effort, and we got this upgrade on round 65. Instantly, I could tell the increase in popping power. We could no longer see normal balloons as they were covered by our zombie BFBs, and the only enemies we could see were blimps, though even those were popped super quick. Next, we upgraded our village to a 302 and started saving money once again. Normally, I'd pick up radar scanner here, but between the shimmer on the wizard and the D-camo of our embrittlement, I figured we'd be okay on camo detection. Over the next 10 rounds, we continued as is, with the Prince of Darkness carrying our run. But on round 78, we were able to upgrade our overdrive to attack zone. Now, right at the start of the track, we have an absolute beast of a tower ready to shred anything that enters. And the upgrade after this is super brittle, a monkey that'll make affected balloons take tons of extra damage from every projectile, and our attack zone has tons and tons of them. We got this in the mid 80s, and the balloons started melting. Even fortified BFBs popped in the blink of an eye, but ZOMGs were still taking a second or two to break down. So, to get a little extra damage, we gave the attack zone a 420 Alchemist. But this brings us to the 90s, where we'll need a little extra to speed up the rounds. The easiest and cheapest solution? A Shattering Shells Mortar Monkey. Not only will he give us a little more camo detection, but he also strips the fortified property from BFBs and lower, which we face a ton of in the final few rounds of Chimps. And this guy was recently made a bit cheaper, so we were able to afford it in the middle of round 91. But now we only have 2 towers left to get. The first is an Overclock Engineer to give our attack zone a little extra attack speed. I did have to focus up and use his ability anytime it was available, but with this buff, we even popped the fortified ZOMGs on around 97 in about 5 seconds. But the last tower we need is a First Strike Submarine. This will let us pop the bat incredibly fast, as we can skip the insides if done right. We got the money for this upgrade at the start of round 98, which gave it enough time to come off cooldown for round 100. Unfortunately, I had a hard time seeing the damage the bat had taken because of how condensed our defenses were and it being half off screen, so I messed up the First Strike one-shot. But we still cleaned up the insides and beat Chimps in about 14 minutes and 16 seconds. Pretty quick, but I'm sure you guys can beat it. If you want to try to beat the score, here is the code, and I'll put the link in the description. Corvus just came out, and we're going to try a brand new 2TC. We booted up Resort on Chimps and started with a boat at the top of the pool. Now, we wanted to go with Corvus and a carrier flagship, but we weren't sure how leads and camos were going to shake out, since we didn't know what level Corvus would be or what spells he'd have at that point. So we kept our buck at a 000 for as long as possible. Once we could afford him, we placed Corvus down at the very start of the track. This way, he could haunt balloons as they entered, getting the maximum amount of mana possible. And his spirit doesn't care where he's placed, as it has global range. So this was our setup. Our 2 towers are very far apart from each other, which is kind of funny for a 2TC. Now, Corvus is actually very strong, especially on a long map like this, so we didn't have to spend his mana on any damaging spells. Instead, we just dumped all of his mana into Nourishment, which gives 2 XP for every mana sacrificed. While tedious, this will help out a ton with getting him to level 20 as he levels up slowly. But with constant mana sacrificing and putting our money into him later, Corvus should get to a pretty high level. Anyway, we continued this until round 24, where we needed camo detection and we did not have the vision spell unlocked yet, meaning we had to make our Buccaneer a 002 to pop the camo balloon. We could have tanked the camo by using Corvus's Soul Barrier spell, but at this point we figured that Corvus would need help with camos, so no matter what Buccaneer we end up going, it'll need Crow's Nest. We kept on with just Corvus and our 002 boat until lead started coming. We got past the first round of them by using a trample spell, but that was on cooldown for the second wave of leads that comes on round 30. And while we could have used spear for these, I figured that we might as well go with a pirate lord just to simplify things. So we upgraded our Buccaneer to a 032 on round 30 with the plans of making it a 052 as fast as possible. We made this guy a monkey pirate on round 34, and saying that this combo was strong is an understatement. I mean, we didn't have a single scare the entire way through the save up process, allowing us to not only power level Corvus using Nourishment, but also afford a Pirate Lord on round 52. And now the playbook was simple. Spend 800 mana on Nourishment, use Soul Harvest or Dark Ritual to get some mana, use Recovery to get Nourishment off cooldown faster, use Soul Harvest or Dark Ritual to get back to 800 mana, and repeat. Was it repetitive? Yes. But Corvus is new enough that I still thought it was fun. On top of this, anytime we had money, we spent it to level him up. So we were leveling him through the natural balloon rounds by dumping mana into him and by spending money on him. the trifecta. The hardest part about this whole thing though was not spamming the Pirate Lord's ability because it was better for us to have longer rounds due to his spell cooldowns. I kept forgetting that though, and we cruised through the rounds. Nevertheless, we got him to round 18 for round 89. Here, I finally moved him to the square that every balloon revolves around, as we'll need his short-range spells soon. Round 90 was a piece of cake as the Pirate Lord just hooked in all 3 DDTs. The next round, though, is where it became clear that we needed some super ceramic help. And so began the end of nourishment spamming and the start of keeping aggression and spear on at all times. With these on, 91 and 92 did not get very far, and we were able to keep our mana full between Corvus's Haunt, Soul Harvest, and Dark Ritual. Things were going well, but around 93 is where things got tough. We had to pull in the first 3DTs with the Pirate Lord and cast Vision and Echo to pop the other 3. This combo gives Corvus 2 spirits and allows them both to see camos for a short time, which was just enough to take down the final DDTs. Round 94 was basically free, as all we had to do was use Spear, Aggression, and Storm. This not only let us beat the round, but also let us get Echo off cooldown and max out our mana pool. Additionally, we spent $13,000 to make Corvus hit level 20 in the middle of this round. We took down the final ZOMGs no problem, but this brought us to round 95, the hardest round so far. This took a long time, but what eventually got us through was using the Pirate Lord's hook on the first 3 DDTs. Then we used Dark Ritual on the reinforced mobs to max out Corvus's mana pool, which let us cast Vision, Ancestral Might, Spear, and Storm. This took out almost everything and would have cleared the round if we started with Echo, but we clutched up by casting Soul Barrier to tank any ceramics that got through. Soul Barrier uses Corvus's current mana pool as temporary lives, and we had more than enough mana to go around since I didn't cast Echo. And just like that, we were on to round 96. This actually took a few tries since some good spells were on cooldown, but we managed to get through with Spear, Aggression, Echo, and Ember. And then we got most of his spells off cooldown while our Pirate Lord and Spirit took down the ZOMGs slowly. This, paired with how slow round 97 is, let us have just about everything ready for the dreaded round 98. It was tough, but how we ended up doing it was starting off the round with an instant Pirate Lord hook on a ZOMG and BFB. Then we waited a few seconds to use Overload, which blows up our Spirit, dealing massive damage to nearby balloons. This popped all the ZOMGs and turned some of the BFBs into mobs, essentially splitting up the round and letting us deal with 2 smaller waves instead of all the balloons at once. The second our Spirit came back, we casted Echo, Aggression, and Frostbound to deal with all the super ceramics. Then, once all the BFBs made it to the square, we toggled Storm for some extra mob damage and started spam clicking Ritual. The moment this came off cooldown, it maxed out Corvus's mana, allowing us to cast Repel and Trample, which cleared the rest of the round. As for round 99, we hooked in the first 3 reinforced DDTs and then used Storm, Vision, and Ancestral Might to take out the remaining 6. This was barely enough to beat them, but moved us on to round 100. The bad took so long to get to the end of the track that basically everything was off cooldown. We used Soul Harvest once it was in range to boost up our mana pool, and we actually cracked its outer layer without any spells. Once opened, we hooked in the 3 DDTs and used Dark Ritual to give us enough mana for Overload. We were hoping that this would just take out the BFBs, but it left us with a ton of mobs to deal with. Luckily, this ability leaves balloons that survived the explosion affected by Corvus's Haunt, meaning they were all weakened and we were able to clean them up without any issues. But there is a brand new 2TC using Corvus and a 052 Pirate Lord. Alright, today we're going to be doing the Phase 1 quest where you try to pop Phase at least 20 times, and I'll show you guys how to get over 100. So with that, we'll put on Ezili, put her up front, right on this little ledge, put her to strong, and then we'll get a sniper right up next to the lava. Give him counter detection so he can shoot phase. Set him to strong as well. So this will be a 0-1-1. Then we can just have fast forward on until we pop the first phase, and we'll be able to pick up even faster firing. So the start of this is really slow, but it picks up about halfway through. We'll start absolutely destroying him. There might be a better start. This is just what I've found so far. All right, so we actually might pop enough balloons to get even faster firing before the first pop, which is great. But the nice thing about Ezili is not only does she damage phase, but she also handles the rounds for us so our sniper can focus phase. All right, we're gonna slow this down, pick up even faster firing, keep it in slow-mo, get another sniper, night vision goggles, set him to strong. Then you can fast forward again because there's not much to do until you get until you get fast firing on this guy. Totally fine if we leak a few. If you want, you can put Ezelia to first, but that just seems worse. All right. After this pop, we'll get even faster firing on this guy. And you guessed it, we'll get another sniper. Right next to the lava again. Night vision goggles, put him on strong. So at this point, or we can, we'll switch Ezelia over to first just to get a few of those pops. Put her back to strong. I like to pick up shrapnel with the next one, and the sniper will start popping everything. Put him to first for a little bit, just so we don't leak too many balloons, then switch him back to strong. We have plenty of money, get it faster firing. And the sniper's shrapnel will slowly start cleaning up all these balloons that are getting by. So we're gonna get shrapnel on a second one. Right when we pop this phase. And nothing should get past him anymore. All right, get even faster firing on this guy, and we will not pick up shrapnel. We only need it on 2. Get another sniper. Strong, night vision goggles. Make sure all your snipers are on strong. Beautiful. You can hit on fast forward. Once he gets low, I recommend putting in slow-mo, just so you buy your upgrades faster. Bang, bang. Get another sniper down. Now this sniper won't be able to see phase, so you can actually leave him on first. Leave him on first until we have enough for night vision goggles, which we're about to. There we go. Get another 022. So once we get 6 or 7 snipers, we'll get down a village. This guy. Strong. You can see we're absolutely chunking him now. And none of the balloons are getting past. We went down to 107. You probably never had to put Ezelia to first. I think that time I did, but it doesn't really matter. All right, now that we have these, we're going to pick up a discount village. We want it to affect all of them. Just get it right here. Good enough. Doesn't hit this guy, but we'll be getting a second one eventually. Can leave it in fast forward, I suppose. Now we will save up for a semi-auto. We should be just fine here. Yeah, we have no issues. All right, there we go. Starting to absolutely destroy phase. He's getting stronger and stronger. We are keeping up just fine. So we can't afford that one. So what we're gonna do is actually pick up another discount and see if we can get 2,300 from this. Well, can't win them all. We'll get 2,300 from this time around, which is kind of a shame we couldn't afford last time, but that's okay. Now what we're going to do is just make all of these guys 023s that are in range of both villages. Feel free to fast forward. We can pick up shrapnel now because we'll have enough for the semi-auto on this pop. There we go. Pick up shrapnel. And less balloons will start to get through. This is actually the lowest on lives I've ever been in this. Pre-loss, I guess, but not really an issue. So let's get jungle drums on this guy. And then we can pick up semi-auto on these two. This top one is only affected by 1 discount, which is a shame, but what are you gonna do if it doesn't reach? All right, we'll get semi-auto. And then this guy doesn't have shrapnel. There we go. We can go forward and start getting full auto rifles on them all. There we go. Huge for the program. It only takes about 2 phases to get each full auto. And then once leads start coming, we'll get an elite sniper, which should be around this section. Okay. Do we get enough? We will pivot, get down the elite sniper. You can keep this guy on first because we will need some lead popping power. This guy will clean up basically everything that's getting by. There we go. Now leads won't get through. You can get a full auto rifle to speed up the round. And then if you're like me, this guy's out of range. I'm very tempted to sell him, but we'll just leave him for now. Sniper's getting, or Bloons getting really far. Totally fine. If we can get a totem down. Nice, and it affects all of our snipers. Beautiful. Probably should have done that earlier. That's my first time doing that. All right, we got our elite sniper. Time to get more of these guys down in range of both villages. There we go. Get more 024s. Set them to strong. Oh, not elite. It's the worst part about getting the elite sniper. We can upgrade this guy, why not? We can get down 2 stronger stem alchemists. Make them 401s. And then we'll get down, let's say 3 more snipers. Put them on strong. All right, once this guy becomes a full auto rifle, we'll get an elite defender, and then we'll work towards a mad. So, nice thing is Bloons will basically always be close to the exit, meaning this guy will be attacking very fast. Ignore that rush, I'm sure we're fine. Probably. Honestly, it would be ideal to lose some lives, so we'll keep putting down that totem. Getting very close to the mad. There we go. Look at that. Basically exactly enough money. Use our ability to get that extra money. We're gonna get a Ray of Doom. There we go. We'll just coast all the way to that upgrade. Use the Mad's ability whenever we can. It's nice and close, which is huge. Do you have extra range yet? No. But once the totem comes back, we will use that. All right. What are you? 80k? Might get that here. Dang. I was hoping we would. Could have sold a sniper to get it a little earlier, but it doesn't really matter. So from here, we are going to get a paragon. So let's get a crossbow master up here. We don't have any monkey knowledge, so what we will do is place down, or I was saying that because we can't get a second crossbow master. Use the Mad's ability. Place down a dart monkey, a boomerang, and a wizard. Those are the spots reserved for paragons. We'll get an ultra jug. Oh, and a PMFC. Use its ability. Then we can move the locks, make sure that they're still hitting them. There we go. Use Ezeali's totem. Here we go. Fuzzy Monkey Fan Club. And then around this, going to want to place as many dart monkeys as we can up here. And make them 0-2-2s. Actually can make them higher, we just don't really have that much money. But there, now we're gonna do tons of damage to them, relock the dartlings. Nice and simple. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll say 10, so let's get 15 more. 15 more dart monkeys. Did not count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Make them all 0-2-2s. Nice. Relock those. Use this once it's up. Mad's getting less effective with its ability, which is fine. I also have it put a little far forward, but that's also a-okay. Use the PMFC. There should be 5 not used. Nice. So here's the thing. We kind of want the this guy as soon as possible, but also degree 40 is super nice. I'm gonna do it right away. Actually, he's gonna be out of range. That's wild. I've never had that problem before. We are ahead of schedule. Okay, I see. I know what I did. So we're gonna sell all of these down here. Then field is free to spend a ton of money on these. Use the PMFC. So I'm making these guys 042s just because they're much more efficient sacrifices. We'll max out the Apex Plasma Master a 50. Okay, that guy's on strong, very close to being in range phases, which is nice. Easily just hit max level. And now we will get down our boomers. Keep this in slow motion. As you can see, we are not really keeping up at all. All right, get down 25, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Use the boomerang's ability to get him pops because now you can see camos. Make them all 022s. This is just so that we get the 100 upgrades on the boomerangs to get a very easy degree 40. What degree are you? 50? Huge. Should be like a 22. Nice. All right. Get down your 3 tier 5 wizards. Make sure they all have camo detection just so they can get a few pops. Get that Wizard Lord Phoenix and the Archmage. And once again, we'll get down 25 wizards. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25. Oh, one thing. Put both Paragons on strong. And use that Wizard Lord Phoenix ability for some extra pops. All right. We're going to make... You can crosspath these however they want. Currently, I'm making 220s solely because I can do those faster. Because my hotkey is on my mouse. But I'm not realizing these guys don't have camo detection. So they won't help us with pops much. Which is fine, I guess. Alright, you can fast forward because we need to wait till we're at 750k. I'd have wanted to get a different Paragon first. It is what it is. We're already at 117, so we met our goal. Do we want to wait a little bit and get a 40? Sure, let's try something new. I don't know how much extra money that's going to be. Let's wait like 2 more phases. Well, we're popping them so fast. Let's see what this is. So I waited till I had $1 million. I got 32, not worth it. Oh well, you live and learn. All right, get down a ton of submarines. You can also go a ninja here, completely up to you. All right, we got our 3 tier 5s. And then I like to rush this guy. So, well, you could get a bunch of first strikes for more money. I'm just going to get down a ton of APDs, so 204s. Solely so that we can get the money for the Nautic Siege Core earlier. I don't know if it's worth it or not, full disclosure. But we're already well past our goal, so... So, make all these guys 204s. Use that ability. Make the Nautic Siege Core. Where's our wizard? Put you on strong. fill up his mana pool and try to time it for when this comes off cooldown, his Arcane Metamorphosis. And now we'll put down our ninjas. If I can find my mouse. 1, 2, 3. Get our 3 tier 5s over there. Use Arcane Metamorphosis. This guy will start doing tons and tons of damage, especially with all that fire. And then you guessed it, we'll get down 25 ninjas. What's that? 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Oop. Use his ability, the ninja's tier 5, Grand Sabotage, just to give him some pops. Makes everything easy. I'm making all these guys 0-2s, 0-2-2s, but it doesn't really matter. The amount of pops these guys will get in comparison to the others is basically nothing. Was it 500k? We did it just in time. Dump all of our money into it. Put him on strong as well. There we go. Now we'll come over, get the ace. Now the ace is actually pretty pressed for space. So this is the one where we're gonna want to be careful. At 141 already. So get our 3 tier 5s. Oh, this is where the money really slows down. Not even sure if we're going to get to the Aegon. So really squeeze these in. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Nice. Whoops. Making all these guys 0-2-2s. Don't even know if we'll get the Aegon before the end. I did last game. But seems like once you get to 140 pops a phase, the money just slows down so much. Also, the screen's probably pretty blurry at this point. So, use this, check on his mana pool, fill it up to use Arcane Metamorphosis. Just does so much damage that you want his mana pool to be full. Speed it up if you want. And there we go. Use that. It's always fun to use Final Strike. So you know I'll be doing that. See how much damage he does. Alright. We have to get up to 900k. So kind of spicy. Once this Final Strike goes off, I want to see how much damage it does, and then we can fast forward. So we're sitting at 35 million. He jumps up to... did 1 million damage. Not bad. Alright. Let's fast forward, get our Goliath Doom ship. And call her a day. Put this guy on figure infinite. I lied, figure 8. Figure infinite, there we go. I don't know why I struggled with that. Couldn't really see the dotted lines. Alright, one more phase and we should be there. It's getting pretty tight. But we're already at 152. Might break my record of 157. Who knows? Ooh, just a little short. Wish there was something. Oh, we got money from Pops. There we go. 30, not bad. Put the bombs down at the end of the track. Activate Arcane Metamorphosis. He was super low on mana. That was a mistake. Oh well. Alright. Let's see how many more phases we can pop. I'm not going to put anything more down. If you want to try to get a Navark, you can. Oh, I'm so silly. Get a Cripple Mob. What am I doing? We should have had that a while ago. And then if you can squeeze in a Super Brittle, definitely do that. My bad, boys. But that's okay. We are doing just fine pops wise. There we go. You can also get a Glue Storm if you want. It wouldn't have added too many is what I'll tell myself. Activate Arcane Metamorphosis. Don't even have time for a first strike. It'll be gone. Hey, we broke my record. 158. We can use these Moab Hex, as things are going to be real close to the exit. Use the Goliath Doomship ability. Hope to get one more pop of phase before this is over. Dang. Phase is getting up there in health if that's all the damage did. Granted, it is only a degree 30. Alright. And not bad. We can just fast forward to the end. We have 400k, so we could have spent some more. But we could have got like a Mad and a Rod. Maybe squeaked out the 160th, but there you go, boys. If you want to get over 100 phase pops in the phase 1 quest, that is a very easy way to do it.